do. All right, so you can see that I have my low poly. It's all under one group, and I just did that by separating out these different pieces that I retopoed and then pressing Control G. So if I do that with this, you can see that it just groups that wood. If I just press Control G, it's gonna make it, it's gonna take that object, put it under a group. And I just named that group low poly right there. And my high poly has the exact same sort of layout for it. So all my wood high, it's right here. So you can see if you select wood high and then wood low, you can see how they line up precisely with each other right there, you know? And then same with metal rims high and then metal rims low. Those line up as well. And yeah, these names are pretty important because that's what Substance Painter uses when it bakes maps. It's gonna like look at your high poly stuff, and it's gonna see that it's the same name as something with low that has that low suffix. So then it's just gonna be able to turn everything else off, not even worry about shooting rays through that when it's baking, and you'll get something nice and spicy. So yeah, let me upload let me just give you guys the UV shield. Export selection. Let's export a FBX here.
Oh my God, Mike, all your files.
It's I'm not gonna lie, the majority of them are y'all's files. Whenever people are running into problems and then they send them over to me, I'm like, okay, I'll take a look. So yeah, I'm slowly getting clogged with those. Shield low UV. All right, I'm gonna just drag that into Discord and I'm gonna put it on Beachboard as well. There we go. Oops, my bad. Shield low UVs. I'm gonna put it in the general chat right here. Boom. All right, so grab that. I'm gonna put it on Beachboard as well.
Mike.
What's up?
I'm trying and it's not working. I like highlight them and I don't know. Like there are little points on the edge of the ear. Like, so when I try.
And
like,
they're not, shit, it could, just send me the file real quick. I don't wanna mess around with this for too long. So I'll just fix it on my end and send it back to you. But yeah, let me get this uploaded to Beachboard.
You want the full file or just like the head?
Just the head piece. And then you'll do that same import thing that you did last time. Content. Texturing. There we go. Yes. Shield low UVs. Uploading that. All right. And that's now downloadable for y'all. Rachel send me an FBX of that head, and I'll fix that real quick before we hop into the full lecture. All right. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to open up that scene. Rachel's having some issues, and I want to make sure we're not leaving anyone behind. Because Rachel's so close. Rachel's so close. There we go. Boom. And you guys have some nice rat footage to keep you occupied in the meantime. So Rachel, what's happening? Where is it? What's giving you issues in here?
I'll
Is it in the UV editor?
I'll send you like screenshots of where they are. Like they're just like if you put the when you put them like the white lines, like the cuts, like it's like 2 lines on the close to the base of the ear on the top, and then like in the very front, like
Oh, right here. Yeah, okay.
yeah, those guys, like I don't know how to get rid of them.
Oh, damn, yeah, you got some extra geometry in here. Let me target weld this up for you real quick. You see that?
Apologies once again, failed me.
I mean, you did a really good job though, despite it. Let's see.
The topology thing was part of the reason why I was like, I'm just going to use Mike's shield.
Right?
And not
Like it's
have to deal with this.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie,
That's
I'm
so real.
stubborn about this. Like I worked so hard on this character that I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. Like I was this close to being like, screw it, I'll just work on the shield. And I'm like, I'm so close. I'm
Hell
stubborn.
yeah. I like it. I like it. The stubbornness is it's gonna pay out in the long run, you know.
Right. Every time I would try to do the edge cuts and stuff, my edge loops are not going all the way through. I'm like, this is what Mike was talking about.
Right, yeah.
Son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
Like
Yeah.
I would try to do just edge loops, like so I would like make it easier. And then it was like, oh, we're only gonna do half of it and not the rest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely part of the trials and tribulations of retopo. But I mean, you did a great job. You did a great job. Let's see then. Let's merge verts, merge center, and then make sure we're in 5 modes. So we're sewing up the right stuff. Boom. There we go. Could have some issues here. Let's see. Yeah, this is a little bit messed up as well. Merge versus the center, edge, boom. So, all right. I think, was there any other ones besides the ears? Any besides the ears?
You're muted, Rachel.
Rachel, how could you? There's these ones at the top. Let's see if this is the same problem. Yep, same problem. Basically, you have a bunch of bonus verts on top of each other here. See this? So they're all separated out. I'm just drag selecting over all of them. Then I'm holding shift and right click, and I'm going to merge verts to center. It's just a hotkey for that. And then I'm sewing that. I'm going to do the same to the other side as well. All right, shift, right click, merge verts to center, edge mode, left click, sew, boom, there we go. And I think that is all of them. Yeah, I think that's all of them. Hell yeah. One last trick we can do is sometimes when you're retopoing, you get some hard faces, like you see right here. For the hair, some of those have like hard normals, right? And your normals basically tell Maya how to bounce light off the surface. So if you have hard normals like this and you render it out, it's going to be like a little bit jagged, guys. So what you need to do is click your model, and especially if you're baking maps. Oh, that rat's so cute. It's just in the little jacket. If your normals are a little bit jagged like that, you can go to mesh display, soften edge. Boom. See that? See how those ones are soft now? This is also really key for baking out maps because they're going to bake out a lot easier now. I'm a little bit concerned for this eye socket here. You see how jagged these edges got? Probably not going to be too big of a deal. I wonder if I could just go into symmetry, object X. I don't know what the underlying eye looks like, but I don't think it's going to be jagged on the surface like this. So I'm just going to kind of boom, bang, and pow. There we go. All right. I believe this is fixed now. I believe this is fixed. Okay. So Rachel, I'm going to export this again. I'm going to do head fix 2. I'm going to export as an MB because it was giving you some problems with FBX last time. So I'm going to do that. Actually, 1 second. It came in with a namespace. I'm going to try to delete that namespace. Don't worry about this step. Where is it? Namespace editor. There we go. All right. File, export selection. Hopefully it doesn't come in with a namespace because that can be annoying sometimes, but head fix 2. All right, export selection. Then head fix 2, my binary, I'm putting that into Discord, so grab that. Grab that and then import it into your scene and you should be good to go. Okay, so I've seen a lot of retopo, I've seen a lot of UVing questions in Discord, and I like it. That's encouraging. That's encouraging. It feels like there's going to be a lot of good characters coming out of the class, which is always delightful. But yeah, like I said before, though, this is just a sampler. So if you didn't fix, if you didn't get your thing UV'd all the way, grab my shield from online. It's on Beachboard. It's on Discord. It doesn't come with the high poly on Discord simply because of file size limitations. But yeah, I'd like you to grab those so you can follow along for this first part. I'm gonna do the shield, and then I'm gonna open up an older character of mine and do that as well, so you guys can see my techniques for that. And then you guys can also ask questions about like how you get certain effects. Most likely they'll be a little bit too complex, or they might require a high poly map that's been baked out. And so if you don't have those, then it's going to be impossible to do. But we'll give it a try. So I'm going to pop open Substance Painter now. Right there. Let's do it. Let's get some color on these. Let's color these models up, y'all. Sniff, yeah, we have your shield. I'm just imagining the Lord of the Rings scene where they talk about my axe and my bow, my sword, all that jazz. Let's go. New version of Substance Painter available. No, I want to check that out in the future. But yeah, so pop open Substance, everyone. Wait till everyone sees what the edges do in Substance. Joshua, what do you mean? What you talking about, Josh? That feeling when you thought you had Substance Painter installed, but you only had the launcher installed. Oh no. We'll be good in a sec. Okay. Okay. Josh, what's going on with your edges? Josh is taking a vow of silence, apparently. How dare you? I'm gonna go fast. Like with the smart materials and generators and how edges and genes are important for that. Yeah. Dang, Josh has been doing some studying. We're not even gonna be really able to talk about generators too much. But yeah.
Mike, where's the layout for like the grid part?
Oh yeah. Click all of your objects.
Mm-hmm.
Get all of your objects selected. So I'll just show you on this one. And then it's it's at the bottom of this toolkit, the UV toolkit. So I'm just scrolling down, and then it's layout right here. And I always press shift and left click it to open the options. So I just shift left click layout to open the options right here.
Mm.
And
layout.
yeah.
Okay.
It's under that arrange and layout sub menu in there. And then shift left click it to open up the options. And you can you just might be on legacy mode if you don't have the plugin loaded, and that's fine. It seems to work as well. But yeah, I would use unfold 3Ds if possible. And in your little layout settings right here, you can make sure that you have a little bit of shell padding. And my padding units, I like to use pixels. And then you should be good to just click apply. And then it will, I got some non-manifold geometry. Always fix non-manifold geometry. Let's do that. There we go.
And it's unfold 3Ds.
Yeah. Unfold 3D, yeah. And then you can see that it's all packed in. Of course, when you have your whole character selected, it's going to do your whole character like this.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And then I would just export all that.
Yep, export all of that. The unfold 3D messed up with your normals right here, Rachel. So if that happens, you can click your character. Hopefully this fixes it. Mesh display, set to face. Mesh display, soften edge. There we go. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to type that in the chat. Mesh display, set to face. Soften edge, because you have some non-manifold geo on here, and it's going to ask if you want to fix that or not. And yeah, I'm guessing that might be how the hair kind of had that weird little tear in it. Yeah, so that's what's making that. But let's not worry about that. It's just like a seam that you have there. It will be fine without that. It'll be fine without fixing that little tear in there. All right.
And just export.
Yep, just select all of them. Remember, I always name each piece, like this would be head underscore low, all lowercase as well. So in your scene, you'd have your head underscore low, and then for your high poly, it'd be head underscore high. And then at the end, you select all your low pieces and then Control G right there. So it's under a group.
Wait, could you do that one more time?
Yeah. So let me remove that from the group, delete the group. So you name all your low pieces, your low poly pieces, whatever they are, and then underscore low.
So open outliner.
Yeah, definitely do this in the outliner. This is a perfect use case for the outliner. So in the outliner, you can just double click the object and then do head underscore low for the head. For the body, you do body underscore low. For the hair, you do hair 1 underscore low and then hair 2 underscore low, because I know you have those 2 different hair chunks. But yeah, if you don't want to worry about that naming convention and baking out maps right now, you could just export them all as just one, like you just left click over all of them and then export an FBX of that.
Okay.
For export selection, if you want to just follow along with the class for the tutorial. But then afterwards, you could rename them and then get that back in there and bake out some maps, because I know that you followed the high poly pretty closely, but I think your character would look pretty good even in just its low poly too. So so this is good old Substance Painter. Delicious. I got the official license, and then you can see that it comes with like a bunch of just default stuff in here. Nice default things. A lot of really cool just tools, everything. You got brushes, you got a bunch of filters with just like a bunch of like almost node-based stuff. It's not quite, but there's like a lot of huge similarities between them. And you got, there's some nice skin. You got just so many things. Oh my gosh, you got grunge. So if you're doing like a really old like metal surface, you get some like nice rust on there. Yeah, see, there's just so many options, guys. So many options. But yeah, so let's get started. I'm gonna go back to materials just because I like that tab a lot. Materials and smart materials, mostly. And let's go to File. And the way you work on a because we want our own 3D model in the viewport, right? So first step, File, New, boom, right there. And there's like a drag down with a bunch of different like presets for, depending on like where you're going, where you're gonna end up. But we don't worry about that. The metallic roughness is gonna work perfect for us for this class. And immediately where it says File, I don't like how the UI splits these buttons up a lot. Like it spreads them out. Like even when you scale it down, like it doesn't look like these are connected, but this means File, and you're gonna select that file. So boom, we're gonna do that. And I'm looking for shield low UV. This is my UV'd shield. Document resolution. If you go higher in this, it might go slower, but the level of detail is great at 2048 for the shield. If you want to go even higher, you could go to 4096, which is massive. I believe for video games nowadays, characters have multiple 2048 maps. So at the end, the texture that you get out, you'd get like a 12048 for each limb of the character, and then the face would be another 2048 texture. But yeah, so they go big. They go big these days. Because think about it, if your camera's up super close to the screen, you're gonna see all that poor detail, and that's gonna be baked out in your texture map. So like, how exactly are you gonna get that? You need more pixels, you know? You need more pixels. So, so yeah, and they use the UDIMs down here for that. But we don't need to worry about that. We're just gonna be dealing with some lower fidelity models, you know, nothing too wild. So we're just gonna do 2048, and then we don't have to touch any of the other options.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's up?
Mine has an extra option of UV tile settings. Do I need to touch anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. It
I
says cannot be changed later.
well, what does it say?
It says cannot be changed later. So That's threatening.
That is threatening and it's concerning.
I don't like it.
Did you in Maya, back in Maya, did you go to UV editor and did you lay out everything within 0 to 1?
I believe that I did. I did mine, but I'm using yours just to be sure
Oh, you're
that
using my model. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I've got that with the shield also.
I think we're good then. I think we're good. Where does it pop it up in this list?
it's in between compute tangent and import settings. It just pops up. I don't know why
Oh,
it's I just wanted to know if that was important or not, because I see it on mine, but not on yours.
I doubt it is, considering we're using the same exact file. So I think we'll be good. But hell yeah. Okay.
All right. I'll blame you later if it's wrong.
You blame. All right, that's fine. I accept full blame.
right, cool.
Yeah. So there we go. Import dimensional maps and big maps for all materials. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. All right, so we don't need to do anything else with this. But yeah, so just press OK there, and you have your file set up now. Delicious. And yeah, so this is substance right here. This is you'll see that it's very similar to Photoshop, kind of like visually how it lays it out. Of course, it does have like materials and all this crazy stuff down here, but like you got your layers, you got your straight up layers. It's the exact same as Photoshop layers. So if you start to draw on your mesh, you'll see, I mean, it's kind of hard to see on this, but like it's going to slowly fill this paint layer up, right? Because this is a layer of paint in here. And you can see that each different layer, or like while we're painting, it's painting a different material right here, right? And we don't have a material selected right now, but you can see that it's painting white. So if I change this white color to say like a deep red, like a candy apple red, and I start painting again, then it's, you know, painting in red down there, right across that model. If you go in and change this height and then start painting, look at that. It's like it's kind of beveling up right there. It's kind of pushing up on that surface a little bit. See that? With all those paint strokes. And then, yeah, so the rest of your channels, these are all of the Pbr channels, right? Pbr, that's just a way of rendering. It stands for physically based rendering, if you're very curious. But yeah, basically Pbr takes in a color, roughness, which is how shiny it is, metallic, which is how metal it is, which is usually a binary option. It's like 0 or 1. The only time that you would get like into like values in between this is if it was like a metal piece that has a little bit of like dirt on it. So like that dirt's kind of like a little bit there. That's when you get these in between values.
Mike,
What's up?
really fast, do you so when opening a new project, what are the like the settings for again?
Oh, just yeah, I'll just do that right here. File, new, and then under document resolution 2048, you can go to 4096 if your computer is like a strong boy, you know. And under for this little select button right here, this one, you click that, and then that's where you navigate to your file. So it'd be shield low UVs in my case, but that'd be whatever you exported from Maya, the low poly. And then that's it. Everything else is pretty default. And then you just do OK, and you're good to go.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so you can see roughness. That has to, like, it gives you a little preview of the material that you're painting here. You can see that as I drag that up, it gets super glossy. So if I do this, it's going to be like a almost mirror-like surface, right? Look at that. You can see the really shiny versus like the more rough stuff. And then if I go down, turbo and roughness, this is as rough as you can get. This would be like, oof, I don't even know. It'd be like a matte finish on a car, you know? Look at that. It's like, it's not reflecting any light, nothing at all, no specularity at all. Now if we go in a little midpoint, you can see that it's kind of making a little bit of a change towards that. Just kind of making a gradient almost right here. Boom, there you go. And it gets super reflective. But yeah, so that's roughness for you. And then we've been painting without metallic, right? But if we go up to metallic, you'll see that it reflects light a little bit different. And this is basically some brain boy stuff, you know, like some scientists, or not scientists, some like really smart programmers like examined how light really works and kind of figured out that metal objects reflect light in a different way, right? I don't know the science behind it because I'm not a turbo smart brain boy, so I'm sorry, class, that I can't explain that to you. But yeah, that's what the metalness slider is for. And yeah, so that's our basic color, roughness, metalness, and a little bit of height, right? Like we were talking about height and how it looks like if you make it go up above, it's going to look like it's kind of building on that surface. If you go under 0, it's going to look like it's carving into that surface. See that? So that looks like it's dipping down in there. And you can get some nice divots that way. And you can go super deep in there. So it goes even lower than this other stuff, you know. But like that's all fakery, right? Like look at if I rotate the camera to be like super low to the ground there. Also, a lot of my camera navigation is just the same to this, so it'll be pretty intuitive for y'all. But like, look, that's just faked detail. Like, there's no actual geometry there telling it to pop up or sink down, right? That's just all fakery. And so that's like kind of the power of texturing, right? Is that we're gonna be able to fake a lot of extra detail in there. And normal, you heard me talking about normals before, but you can bake out textures that basically tell the normals to divert a certain way, you know. And that's essentially what height is doing. Height in here eventually bakes out into normal detail. So if you export this right now, it's going to come out with a normal map that has like, let's see if it'll preview as well. Boom. No, it doesn't. Second, if it does this, yeah, there we go. So it'll come out with this normal map, which is all blue, green, and red, and purples and teals and everything in between it. Those three, and they basically tell you like where your light's gonna bounce, right? So it's gonna, as it hits this green spot right here, it's gonna bounce off that direction, and that's how you like normal maps are how you get all that super high level detail in video games for like the pores and skin and stuff that's baked out in this, you know. So that's what that's going to be. But yeah, there we go. There we go. So that's the basics of materials. That's the basics of materials, and you can play around with all of those different channels and stuff. You can change to whatever color you want. Whatever you want to paint on here. I just want you guys to know what those channels do, right? And when we bake out our maps, like when we export the textures from Substance Painter, you'll see that there's one that's for color, one that's for roughness, one that's for metallic, and normal. So you're gonna have to link those up in your material attributes. And then you're gonna have all that, the detail that you have in substance on your model in Maya. So that's just the very basics. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna close down Maya. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show you guys stuff in Maya, but who cares? This is a substance class now. This is a substance class. All right. So Maya's taking 8 years to close because its life is flashing before its eyes. It's like, are they ever gonna open me again? Are they just gonna forget about me? Now friendship ended with Maya. Substance Painter is my best friend. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Unfollowed. Oh man. Blocked. So yeah, so that's the basics of materials. I hope that if that doesn't make sense, please ask me. Like does anyone have any questions about what those channels do for the materials? Looks like ketchup and honey mustard. Matt, don't make us hungry. Don't make us hungry, dude. We're gonna get too
Can
freaky.
you explain what channels are again?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not really channels. These are just like material channels, right? So in Maya, when you do assign a new material and you do an AI standard surface, it has a slot for color. It has a slot for roughness, has a slot for metallic, right? And so color, that's pretty intuitive, right? It just, whatever color you have here, when you paint, it's gonna have that color on the object, right? Height is the up and down right here. You see how the lighting kind of makes it look like there's a little bit of a depth to this surface, like how it looks like it's divoting in there. If I drag this to 0, watch what happens. Nothing. So it just stays flat to that object. There's no change. Oh, right there. And then roughness is just how shiny it is. I want everyone to equate rough with shiny. So at max roughness, imagine like the most like dimpled surface known to man, like a really porous rock or like the driest dirt.
My
father's
Yeah,
elbows.
my father's elbows, is that what you just said?
what? So I exported and I opened and it finally finished loading for some reason. But is it also supposed to have like the model from ZBrush?
No, it's not.
No.
That's why it took forever to load.
So is the model for, it's like, how did I get the model from ZBrush into it?
I don't know. Go back into no, we already did that. Did you select the model from ZBrush?
No.
Or
No, because like I only have the topology version on from Maya like showing, and everything else is hidden. Like, would it select them even if they're hidden?
well, if you did export all, then it was going to export everything in that scene, regardless of if they were hidden or not. You would need to select your model, like your low poly, or the group that they're all under, all those different pieces, and then export that. I call this shield Mrs. Doubtfire. Hell yeah. Only extremely terrifying. Only extremely terrifying. But yeah, so back to Veronica's. So roughness equals shiny. I want everyone to repeat that in your mind. Roughness equals shiny.
Roughness equals shiny.
Hell yes.
Roughness equals
Hell
shiny.
yeah. Roughness equals shiny. So
Roughness
no
equals
no roughness is as if you went in to whatever surface you're messing with and just like polished it for hours. Like just you did the waxing, had that like super fine double grain cloth just going over that surface, and you're just polishing that, right? So if you crank that all the way down, you've polished it, it's no longer rough. When you draw on there, it's going to be a very shiny, reflective surface, right? It's almost like a mirror right there. Almost like a mirror. But yeah, and then you have every value in between that. And yeah, so that's roughness. Does that make sense, Veronica?
Yes, sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. And then
Is
Oh.
that for, I want to know which brush you're using, because I was looking at the wood grain that was in the materials or the texture, so I wasn't sure if it still applies.
so
well.
you're a little bit ahead of me. I haven't even brought a material into this yet. I'm just talking
Oh,
entirely
okay.
about the channels.
So that's why I was confused, because we were on different
On different brushes for sure. Yeah. So like you might be, because spoiler alert class, what you can do with this is drag materials into this material thing right here and start painting with that. That's how Keely got that nightmare shield. And yeah, so that's a little bit ahead of where we are.
Okay.
Also,
Can I see which one you're using so I can be following along a little better?
this is just a basic default one. So do you have a material in this? Like, did you accidentally drag one in there or something?
No, I just kind of started painting. It looks like a really bad stain finish.
Oh,
But
interesting. Okay. Go to your column over here, like this right column.
Okay.
You see the material tab right here?
Yes.
Is there a material in here? Like, does it not say
an
base color?
No, it just says it just gives me options of color, height, rough, metal, norm. Oh, normal.
Nerm. Yeah, like so, but when you left click drag, it's not
Yeah, I mean,
it's not just like this default brush. You could always just go in and create a new layer. So add a layer right here. Boom.
oh, okay.
And then then you'll be able to paint on that one instead.
I think I was directly painting onto my object, so I'm gonna start over.
Yeah, feel free. You can just delete these layers with the trash bag.
Okay.
But yeah, that is where we were going next. I was going to tell you guys about these channels and the power of layers. The power of layers, friends. So if I get a new color, let's do like some blue. That's a little bit purple.
Mike, really fast. What tool are you using to like navigate to like change the camera angle or view of your?
I'm just one second. Let me get out of here. So I'm just left click with Alt, dragging around, and then middle click dragging with Alt to pan, and then I'm scrolling in and out to zoom, or I'm Alt right clicking. So it's same exact as Maya right there. Same exact.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So right now, do we like start coloring it in with the base color that you're using?
No, I would wait until I give you guys, because I'm just kind of establishing the concepts of texturing in here.
Okay.
So just play around with the tools that I'm showing, and then then we'll start doing some cool stuff. But yeah, so if I bust out another layer, so now I have another paint layer. In order to add a layer right there, it's just this button. And what you can do is just start painting on that as well, right? You can paint on that as well, and you'll notice something. You're like, oh, dang. So my color is going through, right? But, oh, Big Mama, do you want to get out of here? Do you want to escape the room? Sorry, I forgot that a cat was sleeping in my room, so now, Big Mama.
Her name is Big Mama.
This is the culprit. Big Mama, it's the whole class. Look at the class, Mama. They're so nice. They're so nice.
Her name's Big Mama?
There you go, Mama. Ah.
That's a big mama.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I just felt
what a
something
good
like
day.
on my legs. I was like, oh God. I was like, oh yeah, there's a cat. Yeah, that's the Big Mama of the house. She roams free. Big Mama has my heart. Yeah. Yeah. We got a cat and then they failed to tell us that the cat was pregnant. So then she had like 6 cats. And yeah, they were going crazy.
Full grown cat.
Yeah, they came out full grown.
She's a big mama.
Big Mama. But yeah, so 6 for the price of 1, good deal. Yeah, and then we ended up keeping one as well, the one that was most attached to Big Mama. And that's the big baby now. But yeah, so you'll notice that as I'm painting with this, it's kind of overriding some stuff, right? It's overriding the roughness of the underlying stuff, and it's overriding the metallic as well. So those are both overriding these channels on this first layer. So I turn that off. Look, it takes the color, it takes the roughness, it takes the metallic, it takes the height with it as I toggle that layer off. But also, if I drag this layer that I made, just like Photoshop layers, if I drag that underneath, you can now see that blue is underneath that other stuff. But also keep in mind that this height information persists. So height is kind of multiplicative. So it's gonna, as you do more layers, it's gonna stack up as well. You can change the blending mode on that if you want. Let's see if we can do that. Height to do place. There we go. So now it's just gonna, this top layer is just gonna override whatever's under that. I'm just gonna keep that on normal though. But yeah, so that's just the basics of like height stuff, basics of roughness, metallic, all those channels. So yeah, let me know if that makes sense to y'all. And in your brush, right, because we're using a brush with these layers, you can see that there's an alpha, right? And you also over here have a brush palette as well. So there's a few things you can do. You can swap this alpha out for something else. If you click on it, it'll bring up a bunch of different options here. You'll see that there's like just a bunch of different icons, so many different ones in there. Lots of stuff to choose from. You can find, it's the same menu as this alphas menu. And you can just drag any of these into that alphas slot. And then now when you paint, see how it's doing that alpha right there. It's not super cool. If I scale this up with my either the size slider up here or my little hard brackets that are above the quotation key on your keyboard, you can do that as well. But yeah, so there's a bunch of options in here. You can also just left click one of these brushes and you'll see that it pops the brush into this spot. And you can get a lot of cool stuff this way too. Look at that. Oh, my computer's going slow. Oh God, there we go. But yeah, so this is a nice way of getting some detail onto the model. But I want to start you guys off with something that's a little bit more all-encompassing, right? A little bit more all-encompassing. But yeah, there's a bunch of brushes in here for y'all. Bunch of brushes. So feel free to check that stuff out. Bunch of wild stuff in there. And remember, it's gonna when you select that, it's gonna go into your little paint menu here. And that's what you're gonna be painting with. However, you can also, so this is gonna be what Veronica was talking about earlier, how she was painting with a material.
I'm a maverick.
You say you're a madman?
I said maverick.
I'm a maverick. So modest as well, my God. So let's go make a new paint layer. Boom. So this is above all the other ones. All the other ones kind of look like trash anyway, so I'm just gonna make those not visible for now. And if I go into material, you see in this bottom column, right here, this little bottom menu, you have material modes. So what you can do is you can drag in any cool materials that you see. Like let's do, oh, sorry, computer's freezing up again. Let's do Mortar Wall. So if I drag that into here, see how it replaced all of those different channels? Like it used to be, you used to have color, you used to have roughness, height, metal, normal. It just replaced that because now we're painting on a material. And it's using that old brush as well. So instead what I can do is switch back to another one. Ooh. I can switch back to basic soft. That's like the it's more like more default looking ones. But you can see that I'm painting on that texture a little bit in there, right? And it scales up with the brush that I'm using, which is kind of not great, you know. But I'll show you guys how to get a uniform texture across stuff in just a second. But I want you guys to know that you can paint with materials there. You can definitely do that. And you can also, if you don't like the surface detail of something, you can always disable these different channels in here. Oh, sorry, my computer's freezing. And then you're basically just painting with the color of it rather than any of the other parts of the material, you know? But yeah, so let's talk about how we've been messing up so far. We've been messing up, y'all. This isn't exactly how we're texturing everything. I know the program's called Substance Painter, but it should truly be called Substance Filler because we're gonna be using fill layers. Basically a bunch of layers that are with the paint bucket tool, you know, in Photoshop, where it'll just splash paint all over the canvas. And let's go to, let me pull up a video for you guys. If you guys want to review this stuff afterwards, please watch this Substance Painter. Stressed waiting while I wait for my program to unfreeze. Yeah, that's gonna, like, Substance, I think this section of the class could be the most demanding for your computer. I think it could be the most demanding. Yeah. Substance Painter. There we go. So check out this video. Don't watch. Wait, that's just going to only Rachel. Damn it, Rachel. How could you do this to me? There we go. And so that's going to everyone now. So yeah, check out that video. Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
I was about to ask, what did I do wrong?
No, nothing. No, it's all good. So yeah, check out that video after the class. They go over all this stuff. They go over it in just like 50 minutes or something, and it's the best starting tutorial for this program. I love that tutorial. Please check that out. But yeah, so let's hop back in here. So I was talking about how these layers, this isn't really how we texture things, you know. We use something called fill layers. Flipped normals. Veronica, you watch flipped normals? Hell yeah. Everyone should watch flipped normals. They do great shit for ZBrush as well. So if you want to go further into ZBrush after the class, check that shit out. Like they have so many tutorials about it. That's why they're in the syllabus. I list them specifically because they need the shout out, you know. But yeah, have you gotten any of their tuts, like their premium paid for ones? No, I haven't bought any of those yet. I was actually gonna buy that Raffaello Grassetti's ones, probably during the summer though, because I don't have much time for tutorials and stuff during the semester. But yeah, oh, people are posting a lot of stuff. Oh, I want to touch this so bad. Hell yeah, going nuts for shiny over here. Hell yeah, dude. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Oh wait, help please. How to close the full body in the back. Is that that could be a viewport option in here. Up at the top, you can where is it? You can change these around so it's like 3D only. Is Mike slowing down for everyone, or is it just me? Oh no, no! My internet's garbage. My internet is trash. It's been, well, I mean, it's normally decent, but like it's been having some problems lately. So, but yeah, hopefully I'm back. I think people are saying that I'm fine now. Gentle gasp. My internet is actually marketed towards senior citizens. Fuck. Oh man. There we go. So yeah, we have all these paint layers in here, right? Oh, my computer's freezing up. There we go. So we have these paint layers, but we're thinking about fill layers now. Let's open up some fill layers, my friends. So if we go, oh, let's save it. Okay, there we go. If you go to the button right next to your paint layer button, you'll see fill layer. So click that, and boom. It'll make a new layer, and you'll see immediately it doesn't have that checkerboard background. That's because it's basically, imagine Photoshop where it has that big bucket that you throw everything, and it just filled all of our object, every single piece of our object. It just filled it up. So it doesn't look like anything changed because it just filled it with the default gray, like whatever texture, like nothing is in there. Like that the material that it filled it with is just, it looks like this. But if we go in to the material of that, we can drag in any sort of material that we want. Like this is like a fabric little texture right there. You might be like, okay, that's cool, but it's a little bit too big. You can always change this with all these little attributes in here. UV transforms. You can scale this up or down to make it kind of look more like an actual cloth texture. You can rotate it. You can offset it. You can do all of that. If you're getting some weird seams in it though, like you'll be able to see where I cut my UV seams. I think it's right here. Wait, no, it's not. I lied. Let's find it. Let's find it. Ah, there we go. So this is a UV seam, right? That's where we cut. So sometimes we can fix this with our projection method right here. So it says UV projection. If you go click this little drag down and do triplanar instead, sometimes it can patch that up nicely. And it's not looking perfect, but it's an improvement right there. But sometimes the edges suffer on these. Like no, it's looking pretty decent. But yeah, so the triplanar projection works for a lot of materials in there. A lot of dirt materials as well. But yeah, So yeah, feel free to switch over to that. Remember, that's just in your projection for the fill layer. But then you're probably thinking like, Mike, what the hell? Like, why is your shield all this texture? Like, no one's making like a fabric shield. True. So we need to choose better materials, but also we need to be able to control where this material goes. We don't want it to fill everything, right? So the common practice every time you make a fill layer is to right-click the little box right there of the fill layer and do add black mask. Boom, right there. And then you're like, well, Mike, now your shield's not even textured at all. And true. It's because we basically told Substance to fill everything with that fill layer. And then we're like, hold on, Substance. We don't want to fill every single piece yet. Instead, we're going to mask off certain pieces. And so then we applied a mask. So it's like, okay, so now everything is completely masked off. But now we can go back in and kind of tell Substance where we want to add that mask back into. And the best is our little, what is this called? It's like a selective fill. So it's not going to fill the entire object unless we have it on that setting. But so always go to this fill and then checkerboard right here, because this checkerboard is going to fill based on UV shells. So if I click back now, boom, it only did that UV shell. If I click on one of the rivets, it's only going to do that UV shell. Boom, simple, right there, perfect.
Is there a way to mass select objects so that you only have to hit that once, or?
No, it's kind of just like a singular one right there.
I see.
We might be able to, let's see, polygon fill, mesh fill. I think. 1 second, yeah, because you can also do mesh fill, and it's gonna reach as far as that mesh goes. It's gonna go past those UV seams, you know.
Okay.
But other than that, it's just this is the fastest way.
Okay. I see. Thank you.
You can also do it in your 2D viewport as well. So if you go into this and then start, 1 second, my computer's going pretty slow. Oh my God. All right, my computer's just frozen. So.
Oh no.
There we go. I think we're back in business. Wait, no. There we go. Okay. There we go. Let's go. Oh my God. Substance, please. But yeah, so you could fill in either viewport right here. Sometimes it might be faster. Josh, couldn't you do some IDs before you got to this part? Yeah, absolutely. And you could fill by ID, but then that's a generator. I don't want to talk about generators yet. So let's not go there. But yeah, so you can just selectively fill this stuff. And there you go. There you go. So that's how you can selectively sort of get these fill layers going. And it's a nice way to get some even material across your object. But of course, this material isn't the right material. Fabric suit, that's not what we're looking for. We're instead looking for something a little bit metal. A little bit metal. So let's drag a metal into that material now. Okay, a little bit shiny in there. And we can use whatever different material we want. If we want like a smoother metal in there. And then you can also change just all the attributes of this, right? Like they basically, whoever made this substance material kind of went in and exposed some different parameters that we could then use. And smart materials, they're a little bit different. You'll notice that you can't drag them into, you can't just drag them straight up into this material channel because they have some, oh, sorry, slowing down. They have some different like some of these materials, when you drag them in, they'll have like a folder that like a bunch of different materials are grouped under. So let me show you that in case you want to use some smart materials, which you're free to. So how you use smart materials is that you just left click, drag them into your layers, and then boom, right there. And you might be like, Mike, it's going, once again, Mike, it's going over everything. So how do we prevent that fill layer from going over everything? Right click, add black mask, and then we can selectively fill what we want. And there we go. There we go.
Can you do that again real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just get this all filled up. There we go. And there we go. So we have all those materials. Usually these materials also have like a folder. This is the folder that I was talking about. How, and then you have like your sub materials underneath there. And then that's how you can kind of, might be able to change the scale and of some of these to make them larger, smaller, whatever fits your level of detail. For these edges, you can also change like their attributes as well, you know. So yeah, lots of modularity in there. Nice and fast way to texture. Let me go over it again. Let's do a different material though, just to spice things up. Let's do a smart material as well. So there's a bunch of different steels in here. Let's do something more wood though. I'm looking at this wood whole ship old, wood walnut. That sounds pretty cool. Let's do the ship though. Let's do the ship. So I'm gonna left click, drag this into my layers, and it's gonna think a while, and then boom, there we go. So we have this material, and then once again, with every time that you bring a fill layer in, right click, add a black mask. And then you can just go in and start filling as long as you're on your little fill tool and UV fill, and then you have this slider. Because if you fill with like 0.4, look, it's just gonna give you a little bit of it, right? 0.7 is gonna give you a little bit. A full 1 though, it's gonna be like, this is the material. This is straight up the material now. You can always swap this back to 0 and just unfill it, I guess. But yeah, so there you go. That's how you get those in. And you can, again, click on these different materials. And oh man, this one came in with like, holy shit, like 6 layers. My God, guys. My God. Yeah, okay. And yeah, so feel free to click these different materials and start messing around with stuff to get the desired effect. Like if we wanted a darker color for this, we'd have to go into that base wood rough. And yeah. What does black describe about the mask? What makes it a black mask? Why is it called that? Because look at the little preview, right? So this is the mask that I'm working with. It's very tiny. But if you add black mask, it's going to come in completely empty right there. See how the mask is completely black right here? And you can see it'll visualize better if I zoom out for this. So if I add black mask, it's going to be completely black over everything. But as I fill some of these, and then sometimes you have to click off and then kind of navigate around for it to update. See how it updated in here now? So now that black mask has like a little bit of white, telling the material to be like, white means go, like in binary terms, you know, white, go, black, erase. So everything that's black, it's not receiving that material. Everything that's white is receiving that material. So everything that's gray is receiving that material a little bit. So that's why it's called a black mask, is because when you right click add a black mask, it's just completely being like everything is getting so it has to do with the UVs. Yes, no. The reason it's called a black mask, no, it doesn't have much to do with the UVs, but the UVs are what you're kind of filling with it. So the UVs and the black mask are very related. That's why the UVs are an important step for this. But yeah, so there we go. There we go. And if we wanted to change some of the aspects of this, like if we wanted to rotate this around, we'd probably have to rotate each of these channels. So see how I'm rotating one of the many materials in there. Unfortunately for these smart ones, you'd have to do that with all of them. But yeah, so there's a lot of cool ones in here, you know. So if I do machinery, drag that in, it's not going to do much. Partially because, or pretty much because some of these materials require high poly baked out maps in order to work. Like they draw, like some of their little procedural things draw from the high poly map. So some of them simply aren't going to work if you don't have that high poly. But yeah, so that's kind of the basics of texturing in here, and that's as far as you guys need to bring it. Of course, if you're doing the shield, I want you to bake out high poly maps because I have the high poly object for you guys, and you get a lot of cool fidelity that way. But yeah, so that's the basics. So when I'm doing a first pass on a character, I always just go in. Let me delete out some of these extra. I'm just gonna delete them all because I'm not using any of them. When I start fresh, if this were a character, I would just start with some fill layers, right? So add a fill layer, and then I would navigate to some sort of skin. You know, let's do skin face, sure. Wait, sorry, this is a smart material. Let's go back to regular materials. Let's do human. Right here, now we have a skin shield, a little bit cursed, don't worry. And then I would scale it into positions, like how high detail you want it to be. And then might be a little bit too high detail. You might need to enter your own numbers in here by clicking on here and just be like, 10, you know. And then if it has some weird seams on it that you want to try to get rid of, feel free to change projection to triplanar. And then I add a black mask, boom. And then I selectively fill with 1 in this slider everything that I want to be, everything that I want that material to be applied on. So there we go, skin shield. And then I keep going. Well, actually, I would name this first. I just do skin fill layer. Because as you add more layers in, it can get really confusing. It can get really confusing. So add a fill layer. You'll notice that you can still see that like poor detail. That's, remember guys, these layers, height goes through those layers, right? So we can't, you just gotta make sure that you're gonna mask out that stuff later. And then let's use iron hammer, sure, there we go. And then black mask, so it's on nothing. And then you just go in with your fill right here. Start adding that on. It's gonna be dope. It's going to be dope. Now for everyone that's doing the shield, I've been talking about baking maps. People that have with their characters UV'd, don't worry about baking maps. If you can though, that would be super sick. Like Rachel, I know you have a shot at being able to get a nice bake out of it. I only say that like not everyone has a good shot at it because you'll see that there's gonna be a lot of problems. Like I was talking about, like how when it's projecting all these different rays across the mesh, you can get some problems. You can get some problems sometimes. So yeah, that's why I'm saying it's not mandatory for everyone. But for people that are doing the shield though, I'd like to see you give it a shot. You might not like how my high poly looks, which is fine. So feel free to make your own materials and stuff on here, or use your own materials on here. But it's pretty simple. If you have everything set up, you just go into your texture set settings and down to mesh maps. I'm not gonna, again, like this is kind of optional, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but like this is like industry standard workflow, so I need to talk about it. I wouldn't feel good just glancing past it without even addressing it. It's pretty important. So I like to buff up the max frontal distance and max rear. This is just how it's going to be shooting rays at your mesh and baking these maps. When I hit black mask, it doesn't bring up the triangles, squares, checkerboard in the top left. You have to be on the fill button. So click this little button right here. It's a little quad with two like made of two triangles in there. And that's how you can start filling stuff. But yeah, no problem. And then, so yeah, I adjust my rays a little bit. And then anti-aliasing, I would go as high as you can, but it's for our sake, I'm just gonna do 4x4 because it takes a longer time if you up that value. And then match by mesh name right there. And you can go into different options for each of, oh my God, each of these, like ID, instead of color source, material color, I'm going to do mesh ID / polygroup. And then not many other ones. Like there's clearly a bunch of different options in here, but the default options are pretty solid, at least for those. And you can see that it's going through and nothing's happening because I forgot to put my high poly in there. So let's go. I just canceled that. Yeah, there we go. Let's go back to common settings right here. And high definition meshes, don't forget, if you want to do the high poly shield, then shield high, no. I'm looking for the one that I sent to scenes, shield high poly, boom. And then if I bake maps, see that's going through now, and it's projecting all that detail. All of that detail. So like for this one, I don't really need to use as many materials to get that detail of the wood grain on there, because a lot of it's already there. I might be able to spice it up with a little bit of extra wood grain. But you can see it's going through, it's baking all these maps, and they take a while to do.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's up?
I don't quite understand when it comes to baking. I might have just missed something about the intro of it back when we were doing topology.
Mm-hmm.
So for the shield that I'm doing, do I need to bake it? And how do you bake it? And why is it important to bake? Again, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a completely fine question. Like basically, because it's a weird name too. Baking makes me just think of like cookies and stuff. But like, basically, so if I can move this aside, see how like that mesh that I brought in had no detail on it, right? It was just like soft and whatever. Now what it defaults to, if I turn off my materials, is this. You see that? See how my shield looks now?
Right.
This is all of my, this is basically my sculpt from ZBrush.
Okay.
Then gets projected onto that low poly, right? So if I turn on like the little lines, you can see how low poly this object actually is.
Right. So you're basically taking what we topologized in Maya, and now you're baking it with the ZBrush details.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's oh, sorry, what were we gonna say?
How did you do that, and do we need to like save it in a specific file for it to be imported from ZBrush?
Well, if you're working on, if you're working on the shield, then it's already set up for you. The shield high poly is like already set up, and then the shield low that I sent in this class is like ready for it. So all that you do is go into texture settings over here.
It
Then-
actually brings it in from ZBrush.
Bake mesh, yeah. Well, if you go to bake mesh maps, this is where like you see this high definition meshes section. You just click this little high definition meshes button, and then you navigate to that high poly.
Okay. And that high poly would be basically the file of what we imported into Maya.
It's
Mike-
exactly
Mike,
correct.
So for the people not doing the shield and doing their characters, would we have to do that?
You
Or-
don't have to, but like your characters are gonna look a lot better if you do. They're gonna look a lot better, but it's a little bit outside of the scope of the class because you could run into some problems. There's also some extra things where like between the fingers, you know, like if it's shooting rays at like the low poly of this inside finger, some of those rays might go through these other high poly fingers, and then you'll have like in the texture that gets baked, it'll be like a triple finger and it'll like look really weird. So yeah, it's not mandatory, but if you want to give it a shot, if you give it a little experiment, then feel free. I know Josh has been doing stuff with this already for like 2 weeks now. So yeah, feel free to give it a go. Remember, I have my names in that same pattern, right? Where it was like head _ low, body _ low, hair _ low, and then all the high poly meshes also are like hair _ high, head _ high, body _ high. And you can, this is exactly where that plugs in. Very fun, but a lot of redoing and starting over. Yeah, it basically, like if you're doing the if you're baking maps out, that's kind of the first step that you do to try to get those nice. But I want you guys to kind of leap into material stuff, so it's more fun that way. But yeah, and this is where that _ low _ high comes into play, from the mesh name _ low _ high. So
I have one question about
yeah.
baking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we talked about baking before we brought up Substance Painter. So
Absolutely.
did you bake the topology and the original ZBrush sculpt in Maya? Is that what you guys were doing before?
No, that was retopology. Was
Okay.
what we were doing in Maya. So
I remember baking being brought up, and I think that's when I first heard it. But I
yeah,
didn't really understand what that meant.
exactly. Yeah. I was just I wanted you guys to get like, you know, curious about that term, because like it's like what are we talking about baking? Like because you can see the end result here and it's like super sick, you know. So I want you guys to be aware of that process, because yeah, that's like an industry state. Like every single asset that you see in like a movie and stuff has gone through something like this. Or if they're taking some shortcuts, then they have a material that has been like stuff baked onto it, and then they just kind of link that up to the model afterwards. But this, like every single character that you see like a close up on, they have like a high poly, and they bake that detail onto the low poly, and yeah, and all that. So I would feel bad not telling you guys about this stuff. So yeah. But it like I said before, not mandatory for you guys to do, but I really want, if you're thinking about doing modeling in the future, then try to get this high to low poly pipeline going for you. Thinking about high poly Gordon Freeman right now. Oh man, I mean, what last we've seen him was in like Half-Life 2 though, so he's probably, his high polys probably weren't looking so crispy back then, but you know, they're doing what they could deal with. Think about high poly Alex, if anything. That's probably that if they're working in like current gen, they're gonna have some super sick sculpt in ZBrush, I bet, for those characters. But yeah, is the
Wait, to bake
process?
it, Do you put bake the selected textures or bake Lambert too?
Where are you seeing the?
Like after we applied that, after you did the apply diffusion, like in the bottom right there. Like do you
Oh
do we
yeah, yeah. Did you get the high definition mesh in there? This
no.
one? Yeah. So you see this
That
high definition meshes. You're gonna
Uh-huh.
want to go to this little document,
Uh-huh.
and that's gonna load up the it'll basically bring you to a window, and you have to navigate to that shield high poly that's on Beachboard. So grab that off Beachboard if you haven't already, and then you can put that in that spot.
Oh, got you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. There's also a few other options real quick. Let me just go over that. It's the anti-aliasing, subsampling 4x4, and then match by mesh name. And then I also cranked up the max rear distance and max frontal distance a little bit, and then you're ready to just click bake mesh maps. Joshua asks, is the process only different with the exports? So say going to Maya for animation and Unreal for games. Is the process only different for the exports? No, it's not really different. You're still going to be baking maps for both of those, and when you're animating in Maya, you're going to have that same low poly. You're going to be animating on that low poly. And for movies, that's in fact why they keep the low poly as part of the pipeline, because if you have a super high detailed model, you can't really animate that quickly, right? Because if you bring like a what 8 million poly character into Maya and then rig that character, it's going to be painful. It's going to be so painful to like your viewport's going to be going at like 0.2 frames per second. So that's why they have low poly characters for movies. Of course, they're not as low poly as games, because games are lower poly than movies. But then what happens at render time, Josh, is for movies, like for Pixar stuff, what they do is they will subdivide the model through like some sort of subdivision algorithm. It's like the same one that like when you click subdivide in ZBrush, and then it does that like 5 times. So then when it sends it to the render farm, it divides the mesh like 5 times, and then it uses like displacement to kind of push those points in and out to get the actual geometry to look like it's like really there. So that's the process for that. Oh yeah. Okay. Veronica, what's up? What is up?
How'd you get those grids to show? Sorry, I typed it out, but you looked.
Oh, how did you get those grids to show? Oh, which grids? Like the ones on the model right here?
Yeah, the ones on the model. How'd you make it look like that? I don't think I caught that.
That's just when you're on your little fill setting. So let me cancel out of this. Boom. If I go back to paint, boom, they go away.
Oh, okay. So there's
yeah.
no way I can like select those sections and then paint as a mask. You have to kind of just create a mask.
Sorry, could you rephrase that? I didn't quite.
Sure. So you know how we can select these sections in the UV editor in Maya, and they look like this. I can't select one of these things and then create a mask and then just paint on that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
I'm messy.
Basically, you can't really select your UVs in here, right? Like the model's already done, right? Like it's already been exported. But to like fill on top of these, let me get a new fill layer. Let's do boom, new fill layer, and let's do a wood material. Sure. Actually, I don't need a wood material really. I can just change these because I already have that high poly wood detail in there. So I'm just going to change this to, oops, sorry, 1 second. go. I'm just gonna change this to like a brown color, maybe a little bit warmer, brighter. There we go. And yeah, so there you go. That's like my wood. It's a little bit too glossy, so I'm going to turn up that roughness a little bit. And then it's metallic. We're going to leave that alone. We're not going to touch that at all. So then, yes, to only fill some of this, right? We're going to need to add a black mask. Boom. And then you just click on the wood, and it fills that up right quick. And so now what do you want to do with your paint layer now, Veronica?
I just wanted to add on to the color, or because I'm going to do the shield as well. So I just wanted to like paint it to make it look rusty.
Yeah.
But I didn't really realize that, you know, you already provided that high poly texture. But I did think about like if I were to bring in my own character, or in the future, like how I would kind of figure out a way to pinpoint where to put my paint instead of having to, you know, paint the whole thing and then go back and erase.
Yeah.
So like make a mask out of the selections.
I mean, you're pretty close. You're like on the right track there. Basically, so if let me do the metal real quick, because you were talking about rust. I think it'd be good to do rust along with you. I'm going to show you guys the way of just like painting it in. So first, let me get a fill layer, and let's get a metal color. Sure, right there, I guess, and then maybe a bit blue. There we go, just slightly. Height, let's make sure that's at 0. Roughness, let's crank that up a little bit. And then metallic, max metallic, because it's a metal. And sorry, my viewport's lagging. There we go. And immediately a black mask, add a black mask, and then we're going to fill all of these, right? So I'm just going to click these, boom, bang, pow, every single one of these little rivets. And we can like we can save a little bit of time by dragging over some of these, but like if your UVs are all jumbled up, then like it's unlikely that you're going to get a lot of these. But like for some of these parts right here, you could left click drag right there. But yeah, I don't think it's going to work for everyone's character, because when you do that auto UV layout, it's going to jumble everything. But for the shield though, it can work. But yeah, so now we have our metal, right? But if you want to paint some rust onto this, then and you're going to want to not touch that the wood, right? Because wood doesn't really rust. It does decay in a different way, but yeah, metal oxidizes, so it gets all red and like less rough. So what I would do is add a fill layer, right? I'm going to add a fill layer. Let's see if they have rust in here. Oh yeah, rust coarse. That looks like it's going to work. Cool. Rust fine. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I'm going to kind of show you the painterly way to do this. So let's click that, and oh man, it's over everything right now. So what we could instead do, add a black mask. Boom, right? So there's nothing on that. And instead what I can do is paint onto that black mask. So I have that little black mask selected, and then I've got my, oh man, sorry, it's going slow again.
Yeah, that's just like Photoshop.
Yeah. Then you have your little, you're just painting that mask
so
instead.
excited.
Yeah. There you go. And you can change your brush so you're not painting with like soft fall off. Let's go to our brushes. Let's see if they have a rust one in here. They might. Who knows? Doesn't look like it. That's fine. You can always look up like different what like rust looks like, and then you can get a little bit splattery with it with this Kyle brush. So you can kind of build that rust up, you know, in there.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. So then you might run into the problem where like your wood gets a little bit painted, right? With the rust. Oh man, there we go. So watch as I'm going across this. Ah, damn, it's like getting onto this wood. I don't want like rusty wood, right? Like, so the question is, how do we sort of prevent it from going onto that wood? So it's going to be another mask, right? So if I Control G to group that in a folder. So now that rust is under a folder. And then to that folder, if I right click, add a black mask, well, it goes away and you're like, oh, damn, that's like, I needed all that stuff, right? So you could go back in and fill all that mask again. If we switch to mask, you can see exactly what we're filling in here. So yeah, you can do this. Oh my God, substance, please. And there we go, boom. So you could do that again, but if you don't want to do that and you already have a mask for that area, like this metal fill right here, let's get out of mask mode. This metal fill right here, yeah, I already did that mask once, so I can just copy. I can right click that mask, copy mask, paste into mask. So it just copies that mask over. It's super fast. And then now look at your rust is no longer on that right there, right? No longer going to the wood. So you can kind of mask off those different areas with that. So that's basics of like fill layer and stuff. Josh was talking about some procedural things, right? Procedural, meaning that like we get the computer to do a lot of the heavy lifting for us, since we already did a lot of the heavy lifting for getting that high poly sculpt in there. I'm completely down for you guys to paint your stuff on there. Don't get me wrong. I just want to show you guys a little bit of tech for later if you pursue this stuff. So basically, let's turn this off. We're probably gonna need to do that in the future. Let's do...
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's up?
Is there any way to like simulate
Simulate what? It like cut out
fur?
right now. Oh yeah. That would be more of paint, I would say. Like you're gonna be looking for, because like you can get a fur material. Do they have any fur materials in here? Let's see.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see. All fur. Let's see. I don't see any default like this. This is one that I made that's like stylized. But they have more brushes and alphas for this. So yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting. Yeah. I'll show you guys that in a bit. Let me hop back to the. Does everyone sound like their internet is struggling? Mike is sounding better. Yeah. The area's been having some internet problems in general. But yeah, let me get back to that because I'll do fur. I know there's a few of you that have fur in your characters. But yeah, so let me get this. I'm just gonna delete this entire thing. Who cares? Boom. So if I was to do procedural rust for this thing, I would use a fill layer, first of all. So let's add that in there. Boom, fill layer. And then let's go back to my materials. I liked that rust fine. Let's use that again. So I'm just going to left click that, and then it's going to automatically drag that over to the channel right there for us. And it's going over this entire shield, right? But we wanted to mask that off first of all. So it's add black mask. And we want to use something called, there's just a lot of different ones in here. You have generators and filters. To do procedural stuff, we're going to use a generator. And let's use, what would look good with this? Probably a little bit of ambient occlusion, right? So if I go over to my ambient occlusion, you can see how it kind of bakes in there. Oh my God. Sorry, it's freezing up again. You can see how it kind of bakes that, right? Remember, ambient occlusion is kind of like your contact shadows. So like think of like the corners of your room. They're inherently darker because like as the light bounces around, it can't get quite into that crevice. Like the grooves in my finger, like if you look in there, like the light can't get between that. So that's the sort of material it bakes out. That's why these high poly bakes are so sick, guys. Here's curvature. We might be able to use curvature as well. In fact, I'm kind of leaning towards that more. Let's see what other things we have. Yeah, I think curvature. Yeah, let's do ambient occlusion. Okay, so for this generator, let's go back to our material. So for this generator, I'm going to use ambient occlusion. And you'll see that it's still over everything, right? But that's just because I haven't inverted it yet. And then now it's not on much. So let's drag this up. Let's get that a little bit in there. Okay. So it's kind of working.
I think the curvature would look a little better probably.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. You could use this definitely for those grooves on like the bolts, but yeah, I think curvature would work pretty nice. So let's close that out. Let's try the curvature on there. Boom. There. And let's see. Let's play around with that again. There we go. Let's try to invert this. Let's up the contrast so it's more. There we go. So we get that in there, but you can basically layer a bunch of these different rust sort of patterns to or these like generators to sort of influence how the material gets that. Like we could also do dude who left shield out in the rain. Yeah, you could also, let's just turn this off if we add a generator. Let's look at looking for 3D distance, linear gradient. There we go. Yeah. And oh wait, no, not distance. My bad. Sorry, guys. Looking for position. There we go. And position, gradient. And there we go. Let's make sure. Damn. Well, because we can. Damn. All right, so I'm a little bit of brain farting right now for this, but like you can do a bunch of cool things with those generators. Like if you grab two different positions on that mesh, then it'll like do a gradient across that. That's what I'm trying to do right there. But I kind of want to move on because I doubt any of y'all are going to be doing this anyways. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything you need to know for just the basics of that. This like getting materials onto your shield, you know. So feel free to play around with those. Like I said before, generators they're a little bit next level. So if you want to explore those as well, that's cool with me. But a lot of them are going to be using baked out maps. So if you don't have your high poly baked out onto the low poly, they're going to kind of be they're not going to do as much. Same with your smart materials. Like they're not gonna, like this machinery one's not gonna work for you if you don't have your maps baked out, your texture maps, or your mesh maps baked out. But yeah, so that's the basics of that. I kind of want to hop over to a character. So I want to do a character with you guys. Does anyone have any questions about the shield before I carry on? No shield questioners. Okay.
Maybe in a minute, but like not right now.
All right, that's fine.
Thanks.
I'll save out this file so I can always go back to save as. Also, yeah, be careful with Substance Painter file sizes because they get large. Demo, here we go. All right. Okay, well, I mean, we have, it's dinner time now, pretty much. It's 6 p.m. Hee-ho, baking textures. Is it working for you? Is it actually baking out? Hell yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, no, it's super sick. That's why, think about if we didn't have ZBrush even, we wouldn't even have this option. Carbon fiber wood planks, here we come.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah, what's up?
can you show me how you initiate to import that high poly?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all in your texture settings. And it's under the bake mesh maps right here. And you have your high definition meshes. This is in your common settings. Make sure your output size is also 2048. I think it defaults to like 512, which is not, it's gonna be too small. So 2048, we're gonna get a lot of detail in there. Oops. Found it in the edit menu also. Oh, up here?
Yeah, in the top left edit menu. That's where I found baking.
Oh, bake mesh maps. Okay, yeah. Nice. Yeah, and then so you get your settings in here. High definition meshes. Because you need the high polys in here. Like you're just gonna click this little document, and then this is where you select that file of the high poly shield that you downloaded off of Beachboard. So then select that. I'm gonna just shield high poly. And then that's in there. And then I dragged up the frontal distance, rear distance, and then anti-aliasing 4x4, and match by mesh name. And then you're good. I'm just gonna take a screenshot of these settings. And I'll put them in the Discord. Here we go, let's see, snipping tool.
Where's that file again? With the
It's on Beachboard in the texturing.
Okay, so I think oh, okay. I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah. Let me post this. I'm gonna post those settings in the general channel. There you go. Yeah, so just copy those settings whenever you get it downloaded. All right, I did want to talk about that fur question because I believe Diamond wanted to know about that, and I'm sure Susie wants to see a little bit of fur. All right, I'll talk about that once we get back though. So let's get back to class at like 6:45. Let's get a 45-minute break because there's a lot of stuff in there. Also gives you guys a little bit of chance to play around with it before we hop back into stuff. I'm not going to really presenting too much more information. I'm gonna do it's just basically an abstraction of those concepts that we were talking about earlier. But yeah, all right. See you guys in 45 minutes. There we go. And then going to pause recording. Ah, I remembered everything, guys. I'm so proud of myself. So we're back in Substance now. And if we go to our materials tab, like there's a decent amount, but like there's so many more materials in the world, guys. There's so many more. And I showed a little bit of last week of Substance Designer and how you can make your own materials. Yeah, there's some smart materials as well, you know, but there's a website sponsored by Substance called Substance Share. Wait, now I'm just back to, damn it, Substance Share. There we go. The free exchange platform. And guys, there's just a bunch of free materials on here. Bunch of free ones. Look at the materials, 1,688. 1,688 materials. What the? Then 877 smart materials. So if we pop open materials, look, like we can, there's like chain mail. You got like these, look at all this. Look at the world's at your fingertips. Free, you say, grab your hands. Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. Look at all these. And it just keeps going. It just keeps on going, y'all. It just keeps going. Got planks, you got so many. So many. You can even search for, like, yeah, let's do fur. Let's see what kind of fur that they have. See if we can do any shortcuts. Yeah, it's about what I was expecting, you know, nothing too crazy. Like I said, hand painting the fur is going to be a bit of an annoyance, but ultimate skin, where are you seeing ultimate skin somewhere?
Yeah, right, top left ish.
Oh yeah, ultimate skin. But yeah, so there's just so many. So I'll show you a little sampler of how to get this into your scene. Just remember, this is like, if you're like, oh, how did Mike do that? Always check the video. Again, let's find a cool material that's going to be dope. Let's do fantasy planks. Let's do this, and we're going to use it instead of our like high poly baked out map. That's how men's body lotion is advertised. Ultimate skin, yeah. It's like men's deodorant scents. They're just there's like extreme combo rush. You're like, what does that even smell like? Like, how do you quantify that? So yeah, you just navigate to the material you like, then you press download. It's probably going to ask you to sign in. I'm already signed in over here though, and but you can create a free account, nice and easy. Then I'm going to go where that folder popped up, wood planks fantasy nailed. I'm going to just extract that to its own little folder right here, wood planks fantasy nailed. And back in Substance, we need to get this into our project now. And the way you do that is File, up here, Import Resources, boom. And then you're going to go to Add Resource. And then you're looking for that, oops. Let's expand this. You're looking for this. Oh, let's see if they have anything. Okay, yeah, it's just that. So this is the designer file. This is the one for the SBSAR is for Substance Painter, and then import your resources to current section is going to be like if you close down substance and then open it again, you're gonna have to re-import it. If you do project, it's gonna only have it open while you're working in this like save file. If you do shelf, it's gonna be there forever. So, you know, I'll just do shelf, sure. It's a cool, oh, whoops. So let's do base material in here. And then import. And then that planks shows up right there. Awesome, exactly what we're looking for. And I'm gonna go into my texture set settings. And I'm just gonna turn off the normal map. I'm gonna turn off, I'll leave on ambient occlusion, sure. But then let's make another fill layer. Boom, fill layer, simple. And we can just fill it with our material right here. And this is super low on the list, so I need to raise it up. Let's get it high. Up in here, notice how all my layers aren't named. Please don't do that. It's going to be a lot less confusing if you name them. And there we go. And so we can just, as per usual, go into the little rotation of it and rotate it any which way. Scale it to however large we want. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Pretty simple process. It's just the file, import resources, and then slap that together. All right. So now let's talk about substance share. Let's do a little bit of fur. Let's do a little bit of fur right here. Yeah, I should probably do it on a different object, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really have an animal to do this on though. Let's shrink that down. There we go. I'm just gonna paint up the shield a little bit. So I don't really need any of these. Boom. So my first step would be to add a fill layer. And I'm going to make this one relatively rough. So I'm going to crank up the roughness. And this is just going to be like the skin underneath. Like it doesn't need to be super glossy or anything. And I'm going to make a like an animal skin color, like the underlying stuff. And that's just going to be skin base, I guess. I'll name it skin base. And then I would kind of establish this hair by painting it in. It's going to be a lot of painting, you know. Normally I'd add a black mask and then mask it off to the proper area, but you know, this isn't a skin shield. This is kind of for demo purposes. And I'm going to add it on a fill layer. So if you add a fill layer right here and add a black mask, so now nothing's getting that fill. But instead, if we go to our brushes, and then if we start to find something that we can use, like maybe this fibers interlaced would be pretty cool. Let's see this. So I'm just going to click on that brush and click my paint. Sorry, I need to click that paint. Click the paint first and then the brush. There we go. And now it should start adding that in there, right? Okay, so we got that. So we got a little bit of that. We might be able to change the some of these different settings, like number. Let's like reduce that a little bit. Rotation variations, keep that as is. And for these, let's see, there should be a option somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So follow path, to keep that on too. So when you do a stroke, they're gonna follow the orientation of that stroke. So let's just start kind of putting a little bit in there, you know, just a little bit of fur, just a little bit of fur, just to kind of establish it a little bit. And the cool thing is once you get some of those marked in there, since we're doing it on a fill layer, we only need to change this material now to get some, to kind of pop up on that surface. So if we change our base color to like a more fur type of color, like some sort of kind of, let's do like a yellow or something, like a tan, like a light tan. There we go. And then if we crank up on the height a little bit, see how it's starting to bevel that up? We might need to blur this a little bit or something. So like I'm getting a little bit of speckliness in there. I don't quite like that. I don't quite like that. Maybe if I enlarge it a little bit, it'll get better. Not so much better. And that has to do with the resolution. That's like where you can start seeing the pixels, unfortunately. So yeah, we could go with maybe a different fiber. Oh, fiber's dense. Let's see what this looks like. Oh shit, that's a little bit too dense. They're going a bit hog wild. You can see maybe hairlines. Let's try that. It's a little bit too humany, hairish, you know. But yeah, it'll just take a little bit of experimentation to find something you like. That first one was pretty nice, but let's see if there's any other options. This one, let's increase the spacing on here. And this is exactly like Photoshop brushes, you know, like you can do all those same sort of tools on it. But yeah, so then you can start getting some fur in there, you know. And it's not going to be perfect, right? Because it's not like we're going in and making individual strands of hair, but like this is looking pretty furry, you know. So yeah, give it a go, my dudes. If you want to duplicate this layer and start like do a different color, you can always duplicate and then clear the mask. And let's switch the color up a little bit. Let's do like a little bit of a darker, warmer for like a different part of the head or something. That's a little bit, it's kind of like conflicting with that other one. Like I can't really see the difference. So let's go with a dramatically different color. There we go. So yeah, you can just layer these up. And if you're like, it's not high enough, let's pop these top ones out. And then yeah, you can definitely do that too. If they're not shiny enough, then you can always pump up the roughness even more. You can make them more matte, whatever you want to do. But yeah, so that's fur. Does that work for you, Diamond and Susie?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah. Just remember, you start with the fill layer and then you paint on the mask rather than just doing a raw paint layer, and you're gonna get a lot better results that way. All right, so that's some fur. Let's do some hand painted stuff. And let me bring up an example of hand painted textures. Let me open up that substance window that I already had going. That way I don't do even more. And oops, hand painted. Huh. There we go. Let's see. Man, these are like not the best examples. Simply, oh, this one's pretty cool. You can see like the actual. Ooh, this one's, yeah. Like, look at this. It's just kind of all painted in there. You can see each individual brush stroke. It's very hand painted. Let's do World of Warcraft. Like, well, that's just a straight up painting. There we go. Yeah, look at this. Ooh, man. So this is like there's no roughness maps on these. There's no normal maps. This is just all painting. Like, so that someone just went in there and painted all of this up, you know. And it's super sick. Like, look at that. Ooh, that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous. I love it. I love it. So if you're doing something like more akin to that, if you brought it over into Maya afterwards, you'd have to use a different shader. That's kind of, it's called an unlit shader. But if you were trying to do some stuff like that in here, let's just do it. So I would go in my little display tab instead of doing material. I would switch. You know how you can switch over to all these, right? Like all your different maps in here, or your different channels. I would just do base color only. Boom. And then you're like, Mike, where's the shield? But it's there. It's been there the whole time. So then I would just go back in with a let's do a basic soft, sure. And I would do this on a I wouldn't do this on a fill layer, simply because you're gonna be painting a lot of color. Like, so you're gonna be changing the color a lot. It's basically like painting in Photoshop. You could do some fill layers for like the basic colors of things, which might be good. I'm gonna do one for the metal. So here we go. Let's have like, yeah, let's have a color like this. Very dope. The height, roughness, metallic, that doesn't matter because we're only worrying about the base. In fact, you could even turn those channels off here. You see in the material, so we're only working with base color. And then I would add a black mask. And then let's do some filling on there. Boom, bang, pow. And then all these bad boys in here. And I'm colorblind as fuck, so this looks like the same color to me. So I'm gonna have to change this a little bit. Change that base color a little bit. Yeah, that's more visible to me. And then on top of this, I would have my paint. Let's do like let's do wood planks paint. And y'all are gonna see my tragic 2D skills, my tragic traditional painting skills. But you know, it's for you guys' benefit, so I'm down. You know, I might crank up the hardness on this brush as well. You see my little preview right here, just to get like a little bit of a harder stroke, just a touch. And then we have a material in here, so I'm going to click off of that, and then now I can just mess with my base color. So now let's get kind of like a warm sort of ochre paint in here. You can always turn down the opacity on the strokes. We don't have to turbo commit to stuff, but yeah, so now we can just kind of go in. And go on here. And we can just get those planks kind of roughed in. Don't worry about going over the metal, right, on accident, because we can always just add a group and a mask over this. 1 second, substance is dying. And apparently so is my computer. There we go. So yeah, we got that going in there. And you can do it substance, yeah. Hopefully. Then we can add some sort of darker lines in here. but yeah, you can definitely see how this would take forever to do. But the results are gorgeous. Like you saw those examples. Oh my God. Substance is not liking me right now. Yeah, you turn down the hardness on that brush again and mess around with the opacity. Get some nice, prettier strokes in there. You can start detailing all this stuff out, like right here. There we go. You can kind of darken those grooves up. You can even paint on your UV map directly on here if you're feeling comfortable with that. And if you want to get, if you want to really like sample a color, you get your little eyedropper in here. It's also here. There's also a hotkey for it. But you can like take this color and then say if you want to add a highlight to really pop that shape out, you can just sample that color and then kind of start to really pop those forms out. But yeah, so yeah, Substance is great for that too, you know. Great for all of this, you know. So let's add a little bit of highlight on these. So it looks like they have some dimensionality to them. And we're on our way, you know. We're on our way to getting a nice hand-painted texture in there. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you'd go about it, you know. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, if you accidentally press a button, just remember that like you have a bunch of different channels in here, you know, and it's just cycling through those. So feel free to just go back to whatever you were on. Right now it's on base color, you know. So yeah, and yeah, you can just go in, pick your color. Oh, the hotkey for that is P, by the way. For picker, I'm guessing. You can just click on different ones in there in the viewport and yeah. And it always helps with this to sort of like paint in some of your ambient occlusion. Oops. There we go. Oops. Trying to zoom out. So I'm just kind of brushing over the outside of this with a small little brush in there. We can get a little bit darker towards the seam. Kind of fakes that sort of lighting, you know, of that area where they contact each other. But yeah, so you can kind of see where that's going. It would take, you know, a while to develop up a little bit, but yeah. So that's sort of the hand painted style. Remember, as a recap, it's kind of just go to your single channel base color to preview it because we don't worry about lighting, right, with this. And then you just keep refining it. Just keep refining it. And then for the metal, I would do the same thing as the wood. I would add another layer, and then rename that to be metal paint because it's a paint layer. We want to make sure we know it's not a fill layer. And for the color, we could just do a little sample picker over here. And then since our light source was kind of coming from this left side of the shield, that's going to be our brightest color on the shield itself. So you're gonna need to kind of paint that into there, right? Because we don't have the liberty of having the computer figuring out our lighting for us. We don't have that, unfortunately. And yeah, just go from all your different directions. Kind of get that going. You can even use the little UV window. Notice how when you're sometimes when you're painting on this surface, it bleeds onto the wood. One, we can add a mask to this at the end and mask that off. So you could just add a black mask, and then that, since that paint is still on that material right there, if we just fill that up, oops, sorry, that's projection. If we just fill that back in, it eliminates that. If you want to have it so it doesn't do that while you're painting, even though you can fix it afterwards, if you don't want that, you can go into your paint options, and for alignment, just change that to UV, and it shouldn't bleed anymore. And you should be good to paint. Oh, sorry, I was painting on the. There we go. So then we can paint this up. And yeah, it's slow going, but I mean, it's a gorgeous art form. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then, yeah, you can just slightly brush at some of this stuff. Let's turn down the stroke opacity. Yeah. Let's see what this looks like from up above. I probably need to make this shadow a little bit more conforming to the shape of it. So I'm going to go in here and start pecking away at that as well. You can see substance is slowing down a lot for me. And yeah. So you can kind of see how that's coming together. And something I find about metal is that you can really sell it visually if you paint in like really small, bright highlights for like the shiniest parts, you know. And I had that kind of like, let's go into this little screw right there. Oh, need to adjust my mask because I didn't get all the other things in there. Yeah. There. And there we go. And then back into paint, and then let's select our paint layer instead of the mask for the paint layer. But yeah, just kind of highlight all those bolts in there. And yeah, you can add some scratches in the metal. And kind of sell that that's a divot by darkening over here on that side of the scratch. Let's turn up our opacity so we're not here forever. We can turn down the color, make it dark to really cut in there. Whoa. But yeah, perfectly valid way of doing things. A lot of games use this sort of aesthetic. So it's not as though it's outdated. I suppose it's outdated in the sense that like it's an old method, but like, you know, there's still demand for it. There's still a demand for it. But yeah, as I was saying though, takes a long time. Like think about having to do all those wooden planks, you know, that's gonna take a while. But I hope you guys get the idea. And yeah, you just keep going in, highlighting the side. It's basically just painting light and stuff. It takes a while, but
Like,
yeah.
are you painting the lights only from one direction, like one light source?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much. So the light source would be coming from like the top of the screen
Yeah. Okay.
right here. And yeah, so I would need to fix some of the contours of everything. But yeah, that's the basic premise, is that the computer is no longer lighting up the object, you're kind of painting in the light.
I see.
And keep in mind that you wouldn't be able to really rotate this object then, right?
Mhm.
Because if you do, then it's going to look weird. It's going to look like the light's coming from like the wrong direction, you know? So this would be more of a stagnant piece, you know? And
Right.
games that use this usually keep the lighting kind of brightest at the top
Mhm.
of the head and like dark towards the feet. So it's like kind of like as if it was like cloudy outside and it was like a very diffused lighting scenario. So that's kind of how they paint a lot of their stuff.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that is hand painted stuff, and you know, it takes a while, but it can get some cool results. All right, so time for full character. The full character is basically going to be a review of like all the stuff. I'm going to show how to get some stitches on the character as well. That's going to be cool. It's basically just a paint layer that has height on it, and yeah. So let me know if you want me to review anything before I move on to that, or if you have questions about anything. Keely, I saw you unmute for a second and then
I'm
mute.
trying to figure out how to ask this. Sometimes I can't click on my little tools on the left. Why? Where do they go? How come these are grayed out? I
Grayed
have,
out.
like when I create a fill layer, my like the toolbar on the left with all the, you know, the tools in it is grayed out, and I can't like click on any of the stuff.
Okay. Yeah, it's because it's like a because you're selected on that material itself. Like you don't have anything to paint into, right? Because fill layers are not paintable. It says right there. Like so, if you try to drag in there, it's gonna be like, hey, you can't paint on that. So you have to add a mask to that, and then you can paint on that mask.
Ah.
So if you're
There
doing
we
a
go.
hand painted, remember it's you add a paint layer, and then if it bleeds onto something, then you can add a mask and then mask that off to the proper surfaces. But yeah,
I think that's it. Thanks.
Was not expecting to take a sudden dive into painting. Oh, yeah, sorry. I gotta figure out. Oh, I have to cover out all the options. You know, dare I say, wow? Damn, how did I miss that pun before? Frick. I
Hey,
see.
Mike,
Yeah, what's up?
could you talk about generators again and like what they are and what they're good for and such?
Yeah, okay. So generators kind of do like a lot of work for you. There's not going to be a hand painted generator really. I mean, maybe there is if someone was like a big brain boy, but let's go back to some regular. Generators. Generators are also I need to rebake my maps because I like deleted some, so I'm gonna bake out. Which ones did I delete? I deleted normal and ambient occlusion, I believe. Is that right? I think so. Let's check ID. Hash. There we go. And there we go. So let me bake out some maps again real quick, because generators take a lot of, I'm just trying to hang on with my internet. Oh no. Generators usually use your maps that you bake out. That's what they're kind of based off of. So let's show, what can we show? I'll show how to kind of enhance those wooden planks. I guess I'll do that. 1 second, the ambient occlusion map takes forever to bake out. Yeah, there we go. Might hear some meows from the other room. It's fine. It's just the classic cats. Probably begging for food if I was to guess. Here we go. Okay. All right. My internet is really bad too. Damn. My God. All right. So let me can some of these. Wait, does this work still? Oh. Metal. Oh, it's like my paint demo. Okay. I'm here for the meows, Mike. Yeah, Big Mama, she'll probably isn't food because they just got fed, but she's probably begging to play a little ball game, and she'll pick up this little like fake golf ball, and then she'll just bring it to either me or my roommates, and then be like, "Please play with me. Throw this for me, and I can chase." It's fucking adorable. It is adorbs. All right, so this is no longer skin base, it's gonna be wood base. So I'm basically gonna construct this sort of shield wood grain from generators. So let's put this wood base in here, and I'm gonna change that base color to be dark. I want the insides of this to be dark. This is gonna be dark wood. In here, yeah, let's make it pretty dark. Try to avoid going completely black, because that doesn't, it ends up not looking great when things render out. It's just kind of a thing about 3D. Yeah, we can go a bit warmer in here, and let's get a little bit more rough, a little bit. Okay, because I'm picturing that the grooves of this wood would be really rough, and then the outer part that could be a little bit more shiny, a bit more specular. You know? So now I have that wood base, and then I'm going to go and make a new fill layer, and I'm going to give it a kind of a warm brown color. Maybe something a little bit, yeah, right there. And I'm going to add a generator to this. So I'm going to right click. I'll do this as wood highlights. Maybe midtones actually. And I'm going to right click that. And I'm going to add a generator. And that generator is empty, so it gives you this little empty slot down here. And if you left click this, you can see that you get a lot of different generators in here. And it's just going to take time to learn what they are. Like this UV border, think of it as like on every single border edge of your UVs, there's going to be a little like bright white mask. So then if you had, say if you had a shirt, like look at my jacket right here. Like this would be a UV border, right? Because I probably clipped it right there. So then from that, there'd be a little bit of a white thickness. And I could potentially be like, hey, if I if I make a material with a generator, that's the UV border, and then bevel that up in height. So it would basically make like a little bit of a cuff for me, but it would go around everything, just so you know. So that's like that. But then there's also like this metal edge that's going to look at your curvature and kind of give you a highlight on that metallic sort of edge of it. So if like, think about if the shield was dropped a lot, it would have scuffed up edges. Light, I'll do a light show for you, but let's kind of go with either ambient occlusion or curvature is going to work for us here. Probably ambient occlusion a little bit better, but we can always swap over. But yeah, so there we go. This is, oh, whoops, sorry, I messed up. So I needed to add a black mask first. Boom. And then on that black mask, that's where the generator goes. And then let's do that. So, whoops, my bad. I did curvature. I want to try. Also, feel free to pay attention to what happens with this little mask when I add this generator. So add generator, then ambient occlusion. It basically just drags in my ambient occlusion on that mask, right? So now, remember the ambient occlusion, if I go to that map right here, boom. You can see that it's brightest on those like outer surfaces and it's darkest in those crevices. So if I use this, if I use that map to sort of add as a mask, you'll see that it's going to slowly peck away at it to that, and it's going to expose that rough, darker wood underneath. So let's go and start messing with that. Looking at global balance. Yeah, see that? See how it's going? Ooh. Ooh, hell yeah. And it's not super convincing of an effect. It's not super convincing. I think it's because my color is a little bit off. But if I get something like that in there, and if I mess with this ambient occlusion, like you have to click on the ambient occlusion generator to actually get in there. If I can blur that up a little bit, just a little bit. Even drop it full.
So it's affecting how it's going to sit on the bottom layer.
Exactly. Yeah, you can see that each of these channels are kind of messing with that ambient occlusion mask. You can also use a curvature generator as well, which might look pretty good too. Yeah, that's looking nice. And you can do the same sort of contrasting in there. Look at that metal, like the little metal cap especially. You could use a curvature map to really bring out those like highlights of where some sort of hammer was hitting down on that and kind of crafting that shape. So yeah, so really cool stuff right there. You can also double these up. So if I wanted a curvature map and an ambient occlusion, you can add a generator to that curvature and do ambient occlusion, and then crank that down. And so they kind of work in conjunction with each other, especially if you change their blending to multiply. So now they're like, it's like a multiply layer in Photoshop. So now you have that curvature and the ambient occlusion all on the same one, kind of working together. And you can create some really cool effects with that. Say that I wanted to get some moss on this. I probably would have included that in like my high poly sculpt, first of all, the moss. But if I wanted to get just kind of like some surface detail. Oh, also let's mask this off first. So like it's extending too far, like it's affecting the metal right now. So I want to make sure that it doesn't do that. So I'm going to Control G on this wood midtones. So it's in a folder now. And I'm going to add a black mask to that folder. And then I can just do my regular fill to the wood, and then it comes back on there. So it's that mask is working. But I can do that for the wood base as well. I'm going to add a black mask. And since I already made that mask over here, I can just copy that mask and paste into mask. Boom, right there. So I have that like kind of dark wood in there. So if I wanted to add some moss to this through a generator, that'd be cool. Let's do that. So let's get a fill layer, add a fill layer right here. Boom. And let's make sure that's on top of the, oops. Let's make sure that's on top of all the other layers, because that moss is going to be the topmost one. And let's get a good color for this moss. I am red-green colorblind, so I'm sorry, it's probably not going to be a great color for the moss. Green. Green. Yeah, there we go. Sure. Sure, I like it. Minty. Yeah, it's maybe a bit too minty of moss. But let's add a black mask to that. Boom. And the way moss kind of works is it goes on the top side of things, right? So there's some different sort of generators for that, but a cool one might be, I'm just right-clicking that mask, that black mask, and then applying a generator to that. A cool one might be light. And the way light works is that it kind of shoots, it'll shoot rays across it and kind of, it'll change based on that. So let's see. So right now, I think our horizontal angle is good. This is like straight on, and then at the top, sorry. And then light attenuation. You can see it kind of being gradienting on there. There we go. And it's a little bit, so let's look at our mask now to see what's going on. So this is exactly what it's telling this top layer. Like if I just change this over to mask, single channel mask, you can see exactly what these parameters are doing right here. A little bit more clearly. Like glossiness. See, the problem is that my high poly has like some like fine detailed grooves, but I don't exactly want that here. So like this, and then you can do some cool things with these generators. So if we add a filter, a filter to this, we can do blur. So see how it's making that mask blurry. So then we're going to get some more, it's going to take that light and make it not as groovy, right? Because that moss wouldn't be as, the moss itself wouldn't be as like hardened. But yeah, let's go back into light. And you can drag these around if you accidentally get them in the wrong order. But something about adding a blur filter to an object is breaking my brain right now. I mean, it's not to the object so much as it is to the mask, right? It's blurring that mask in there. So yeah, you can change that. There's a bunch of different filters in there too. I might want to take this blur and add another filter. And histogram scan is a cool one. And oops, maybe it's this way. We can kind of solidify those different areas. That's something I could hold in real life and it would not look blurry and sharp at the same time. True, true. Let's turn this light attenuation up. Let's turn that highlight level down. But yeah. So I'm basically just trying to get that effect of like the moss being concentrated on those like top surfaces in here, you know. And let's see what that looks like. It's probably gonna look really weird right now. Yeah, I need to kind of punch in harder on that. Let's go back to the mask layer. Let's do this. Max contrast. A little bit of that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Starting to be something. Starting to be something. Let's turn down the contrast just a little bit. Just a little bit. And if we take that material now, and it's currently like really shiny, right? So moss is not shiny. Let's make that rough. So let's make that pretty rough on there. And if we bump up the height, you can see how it's kind of building on the surface then like that. It's a little bit, I might need to add another blur on top of that histogram scan. Or I could just take this first blur. No, it's not. I need that first blur. If I add another filter, blur. See that? It makes it not as rough. And if we take our material and change the normals of the normal blend of it, we might be able to get some effects that are pretty cool. Because if we could get it to not take the, oops. Let's see that. And let's go to the height. Yeah, there we go. Let's do replace. Yeah. So that's getting there. And then you can keep adding on stuff to this. To where if you, like if we have a material, like a mossy material, that'd be pretty cool too. But we can, yeah. So I don't know, there's just like a wide world of stuff that you can do with generators. And definitely worth checking out in the future. But yeah. Yeah, so give it a go. Give it a go in your free time. Again, a lot of generators need maps. They need those maps baked out from the high poly, like that light filter right here. That basically looks at your world space normal maps for that. So it's like looking at which surfaces are blue or green or whatever, or red. And it kind of like does its work from there. But yeah. Does that help you out a little bit, or?
No, definitely. I think I just needed it broken down a bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll try messing with them, see what happens.
Hell yeah. Please do. Please do. Yeah, use those in conjunction with filters, and you can do some really cool stuff. You can do some dope stuff. And you can also, yeah, let's do that. Sure, let's do that. So if you have a, like, say if I was working on the rust for this, let's add a fill layer. And let's make this metal, kind of rough. And then add a black mask. And then fill these bad boys in. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Let's make this material a bit more rough and then full metallic. So if I was working on like the rust again on this, I could just go to, I could add another layer, like a fill layer. I could use that rust fine and then add a black mask. And then I could add a fill layer on that mask, right? So I add a fill. And then in the grayscale, uniform color, because right now it's at 0.5, you can drag that up and down. If you instead click on this and do like noise, you can get a lot of different effects in here. So let's try this. And then let's up that balance and contrast. You can see how you can get some nice sort of different styles of rust in here. And that's pretty cool, you know. You can always switch this one out for some other noise. Anything that you want, really. Just a bunch of dirts, a bunch of whatever. You can do cells. It's like these like geometric cool shapes, you know. Yeah. So yeah, bunch of different different options in there for that. But yeah, any other questions before I kind of do a full sort of recap and do a character of mine? All right. All righty. I really love how that looks, right? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You can get like a just nice, cool, like this would be great for like a low poly sort of style. It would really resonate well with that. All right, so let's see. Do I have blacksmith paint file? It's open now. I'm gonna discard my changes. So let's see if my grandma painter file is scuffed or not. Ah, no, it's not. Hell yeah. So this is a character in the game that I'm working on. This is your grandma. She heals you and has a big potion bottle on her back. Granny T-pose, hell yeah. They gotta be T-pose. You have a fighter, grandma. Can I please pay your game? Oh man, yeah. Well, she's a vendor. She's like a shop vendor, but you know, she might be down to throw down every once in a while. But you can see that I have all these layers, right? And you can just visit them on and off. You can see like what which materials are using the metal. Do skin, hair, all that. Leather. But yeah, so I'm down for you guys to just go one by one and sort of fill your objects with these different different materials, you know. But I'm gonna go in and delete all of these. No, Grandma, what are they doing to you? Tragedy. Tragedy. File. I'm going to save as because I just destroyed Grandma's career. Gmod class demo. What did you do? Suck the color right. Oh, man. Grand gonna get you. I mean, we're going to rebuild her. She's going to be stronger, doper than ever before. Let's just give you guys a whole mess of things. So let's say I don't like because one, this Grandma character, since we're not baking out high poly detail onto her, she's not going to be able to use a lot of smart materials, unfortunately. We can kind of cheat things, but for like ambient occlusion maps and curvature maps, we might be able to bake out a few of them. Let's see. So it looks like I did bake out an ambient occlusion map. Yeah, looks a little bit cursed, but you know, that's fine. Let's see. Are there any other maps? No, it doesn't look like it. But you can try it. You can use your low poly mesh as a high poly mesh, so it's going to bake the same detail onto itself. But you'll see that you might get some weird results. Let's try a curvature. We already have an ambient occlusion. Show seams on the curvature map. Boom. And let's try to do that. Oh yeah, that looks really weird. Kind of works though. Kind of works. A little bit. It's still super whack, but you might be able to, like, since it's using that low poly as the high poly, you can see that it's like baking in individual poly data right there. But you might be able to get some cool effects out of this still. Might be worth exploring. But yeah, so if I was to just start going in, I would just, you know, fill layer, boom. Let's get the gold right here, right? Let's do the gold. And I have a few materials. Let's try this. What does this look like? Well, there we go. Doo-doo-doo. And let's do the scale. Sorry, I'm just kind of slowly dragging these because they're kind of losing their mind. Wow. Just trying to get a little bit of that gold flakiness in there, just to break up that surface. There we go. There we go. That was a little material. That was a material that I made in Substance Designer. It's pretty nifty. And then I'm going to right click, add a black mask, and let's fill that. Right. So let's go to our little fill tool, UV seam, and then we can just click on there. And each of these bad boys, boom, bang, right there in the bottom, right? Done. Donezo. So now let's do like the tunic, and say I don't like any of my cloth textures in here. Fabric rough, fabric knit. I mean, they actually do have a decent amount of clothes. Oh, whoops, sorry. Substance is going to lose its mind for a second. There we go. So let's add a fill layer, and let's use our fabric here. We can scale it up right here. And since like how I told you guys to do in class, how you lay out your seams at where your clothes seams are, then stuff like kind of naturally tiles pretty well. You'll find though that sometimes there's gonna be stretching, and then sometimes the fabric's like facing the wrong direction. Like this should be facing a different direction. What you'd have to do is, one, add a black mask to this, and then fill the parts that look right, like this, and kind of mask off different areas, and then kind of rotate the maps in those different ones. But remember, you can also use triplanar projection to get some nice even sort of effects on those parts. And we can go into the colors, fabric top. Let's do that source material blue that we were looking at. And I think this is a bit too big in scale, or too small, so I'm gonna crank down this. Let's crank it back up a little bit. There we go. Might need to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's looking good. So yeah, you can just do that, and then for the sleeves, I would just duplicate that layer with Control D, and I'd clear this mask, boom. And then I would go in and click this. You notice that my cloth is kind of going the wrong way there. Let's go back into my triplanar projection. And we can do we can press our regular Maya hotkeys for WER to move, scale, and rotate. You can see how it's changing that rotation, changes how it projects that texture on there. We can do the same with that UV projection, right? So, oops. Yeah, there we go. And we can just change the orientation of these right there. I'm getting a little bit of tearing on one of these sleeves. I'm a bit worried that I didn't unwrap it properly. Oh no, the classic. Our unwraps are coming back to get us. Right here, you see that? So I might have to go back into my source file and mess around with that. Unfortunately, yeah, this sleeve looks fine. But yeah, so we can just do that for the sleeves. The consequences of your actions. Yep, it's always going to come back to get us. It's tragic. And then, yeah, so for the gloves, we can do another material. So we can do a fill layer. Again, name your materials. So let's do tunic, blue, fabric, sleeves. Blue fabric torso. And And let's see if we have a cool leather in here that we could use. Leather bag. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Looks a bit mottled a little bit. Immediately add a black mask. Boom. And since this is symmetrical, I should be able to, oh, no, the symmetry is a little bit off. Let's see if we can help that. Yeah. Oh, man, tragic. My symmetry is not going to work. But yeah, there's some symmetry options. But yeah, so if you're painting up a character, it'd be nice to use symmetry like that, so you're not spending a bunch of time doing both sides. But we can just fill both of these. There we go. Shouldn't take too much time. Let's get the inside of those in there. We can go into that leather, kind of change around some options. To make it different. This leather I'm not really scaled on, or I'm not really sold on. So I would say look for a different. Oh my God, Substance is going so slow right now. Look for a different one, perhaps. UV projection. Let's do triplanar. There we go. Let's get some dark leather in there. Wide and small stain intensity. Yep. Dots intensity. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Looking a little bit better in there. Looking a little bit better. But remember, I was talking about seams, right? And how we can just kind of paint on some stitches. This is a really cool little trick. So if we wanted some stitches down the side of Grandma, we could add a fill layer. And on this fill layer, we would have, let's change the color to just white, so pop. Then let's add a black mask. And we're going to paint on that black mask, right? So if we go into our brush and then make sure our grayscale color, because we're painting white, we're telling Substance, we're like, yes, we want this white to show through. You can go in and just kind of paint individual stitches like this. And then if you go into the height, you can pop those stitches out right there. See that? And better than just painting them individually at a time, there's some brushes in here that are specifically for stitches. You can have stitches 1, stitches 2, stitches 3, stitches 4. They got a bunch. Let's use stitches 1. Oh, sorry. Let's click on click back on this, and then let's paint them in. So we need to change our spacing a little bit.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I think it would look more effective if you cut the texture to make it look like 2 different pieces of fabric and then stitch horizontally. But that's just mine because I'm very literal.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. Let me do, because I know what you're saying, and we can get a cool generator to kind of cut the rim of our our stitches out a little bit for us. Let's do spacing. Here we go. So we can do this down the side. But yeah, so as Veronica was saying, it would be more convincing if you could see the actual seam in the clothing, right? And there's a generator that's great for that, right? Because as I was saying before, we have our UV seams. We have our UV seams, and underneath those, or if we use a generator that kind of follows those seams, then it's going to be pretty effective. Sorry, one sec, my brain is lagging. Let's remove mask from this. Here we go. And then, actually, my bad. Black mask. And then do both of those again. And I can do height, I can do normal. And then color, we can make it maybe darker. All right. Okay, so now on this blue tunic fabric torso, if we add a generator, that is our UV border. Boom. And then let's look at our mask to see exactly what's going on. Wow. So let's crank down distance. Oh, let's crank distance. Just to barely. There we go. Okay. And invert. True. There we go. So now you can see that it's kind of making that seam in there, right? So it's checking the distance to that UV border, and it's kind of giving us a distance from that it falls off. And I need to now make it so that's only limited to the rest of this, to the tunic parts, right? So if I do that Control G trick, it's in that folder, and then I can add a black mask to that. And I can just fill. I can just fill that tunic because it's the tunic fabric specifically. And now, if I go in, and this would actually work kind of separated out on a different layer. So let's duplicate this and drag it out here. Let's remove this. We're just going to use the regular mask for that. Nice, nice. And then for this material in here, I'm not going to have that. I'm going to take this out. And if I just bump out this height, you can see that it's kind of giving that sort of like it's actually folding in on itself right there, you know. And you can adjust that with the UV border distance. So we can kind of squeeze this to make it even smaller. Oh, robot microturns, no. I'm sorry, my friends. At least the YouTube video will be quality captures the whole time, you know. And yeah, let's clear this out. Let's see if there's a brush that has like the little cross stitch. There might not be one, unfortunately. What does this look like? Yeah. If we just the spacing, that might work on there. Oh, that's even more. Let's add more space to this. Hell yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Here we go. Not the best. I would kind of hope for one of those little X ones, you know, that'd be pretty sick. I bet you could find a brush on Substance Source or Substance Share for that. Let's see it. Let's see if they got one. Let's see if they got one of those. Let's do Stitch. They have the double stitch right there. Nothing. You could make your own potentially, but you know, not going to worry about that too much. And then let's see if we can, because it's kind of conforming to that height map underneath. Also, all right, my OCD's bothering me. I want to make the stitches follow the clothes a little bit closer. Okay, all right. So if we take, there's gonna be a cool little trick that we can use. So first, let's try to get this to not blend with that underlying height. So if we go into our height layers, we might be able to find a blend mode that discards that. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. And let's pop the height out for that. There we go. So I just went into height and then put it on normal. So it kind of overrides the underlying height of that. Oh my God. Sarah's throwing out some Alan memes at me, and it's bringing me back to the past. But yeah, a cool detail we can do with these is that he told me to pass it on Mad Lads forever. Oh man, the Mad Lads. The Mad Lads are back in town. So another detail on these stitches is that like they're on the surface, but like stitches kind of push in on the fabric, right? Like because they're holding that fabric in place. So what you can do is duplicate that stitch layer, drag it underneath that one, and we're going to kind of create a divot with that with this new one. And we first need to attach a filter, right? So let's look at our mask. Let's look at it because it's all about the masks. So that's the current mask right there, as to be as expected, you know. But if we go to add filter and then blur a little bit. Ooh, okay. Okay, Mike. Okay, Mike, what you up to with this blur? What you doing? Let's see. And then if we go back to our material, you'll see that they're kind of popping out, right? But then if we just go to this material and we turn off all the channels except for height and normal, and we push in on that, look at that. Look at that. You can just kind of, you just push in on there. Delicious. Just, it's subtle, but it's there, you know? So, Josh, heavy breathing. Feels uncomfortable hearing that about this grandma. Yeah, man. But yeah, so those are just some like cool little tips. Again, I'm not going to be bothered if you guys don't do those cool like stitches and stuff everywhere. And you just go with materials and you just fill in different things like that. I'm fine with that too, you know. But I want those of you that are kind of like excited about this stuff to get to see like what you can do with it. So I'm trying to find my gold layer, and I already messed up egregiously because I did not name it because I'm a fool. So it looks like this is there. So let's rename this gold layer. And yeah, let's just fill this one up because I missed it. And yeah, so you just keep going through, you know, keep going through. All the blue tunic. Oh, it's because I'm on height. If I go to base color, it'd be a lot more visible. But yeah, so if I go to all these, I can just fill them in. Boom, bang. I can go to that leather for the gloves. Where is it? Ah, yep, there we go. And fill that in, all of these, you know, all of these. And we could probably use a curvature generator to give us like a nice rim on here. But remember, this is a low poly, so that curvature map that came out of it is kind of whack, a little bit whack. So let's duplicate this layer, beep. And then I'm gonna add a generator to that. Actually, first step, I'm gonna go into that material because I want the outside edges of it to be a little bit lighter than the inside. So let's give it a lighter leather right there. Let's add a generator. And we're looking for the ambient occlusion is not going to work. I think curvatures are our best bet. So if we go in here, curvature. It's like she's having like a day at the spa or something. First, let's mask that out just so I don't lose my mind. And since this is going to use the same mask as the other leather, I can just right click, copy that mask, and then paste it into that layer on top. And for curvature, let's adjust the fall off, the balance, all this. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, it's working fine. So it's giving us like a nice little like destroyed detail of that. Let's change the blur up a little bit. Yeah, let's downgrade that again. Again, this stuff is going slow even for my computer, you know, so sometimes to preview it properly, you're gonna have to really tweak it and look at it for a while. But yeah, so you got a nice little damaged detail right there on the edges. The gloves got too much right here, clearly messed up. So I can just, instead, on my mask right here, I can turn this down to 0 and then fill that in. Boom, bang, pow. Because I don't want the gloves to look all weird. So let's just remove that from that mask of the glove lighter detail. And then you can do your own one specifically for the gloves. So if I Control D, it's going to duplicate that folder. And then I can turn on, I can do the same thing. I can just fill out these. Let's look at the mask. Right there. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And then instead, fill them back up right here. Right here. Go back into material and check out check out the curvature generator of that material. See if we can change anything about it. Yeah, those fingers can be pretty difficult to deal with. But yeah, I might just leave that off for the gloves for now. You can paint detail into that anyways. So, but yeah, so that's it, guys. That's it. A lot of cool tricks, a lot of cool tips that you can do. But it basically comes down to making fill layers and messing with masks for everything, for all of it. Add a fill layer, go to your materials, get some cool iron or something, and then add a mask, and then just fill back in what you need to be colored. Iron grandma. Hell yeah. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's it. Let me just keep on going real quick. Try to finish this up fast and then export it over to back to Substance here. Okay. Okay. Right there. Then I honestly, since my character is kind of stylized and smooth, I don't really like these pores, like this, all these like skin ones, you know. They're kind of weird looking, but I can show you what they look like. At least, again, I'm not naming my layers because I'm a fool, but you know, who needs it? Let's up the scale on this. UV projection, triplanar projection. Let's turn down the intensity of that. My God. My God. Let's go into height. Let's just turn down the height of. There we go. Doesn't look too awful, but still not a huge fan of it, but just so you guys can see me working with it. There we go, and then back into base color, add a fill, and let's make this like a dark brown. Let's turn down the roughness, or turn up the roughness, because it's going to be the hair. Mask right there. Boom, bang, bang, pow. And I need to add some back to the leather. Might look better if I do this, then put this on the blue tunic layer. I look a little bit weird with that knit, but whatever. Not too bothered. Then I need hair. She's got gray hair. It's absolutely fine. There we go. Gold layer. Add this piece to it. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Then one last layer. Let's do add a fill. Let's do fabric denim, sure. Sounds good to me. It's far too large. So I'm going to scale that back. Platinum Grandma's DLC, yeah. Yeah, it's premium content. Add black mask. Let me just fill it up. Boom. Bang. Pow. There we go. There we go. A couple more layers. This one's going to be the eyes, or like the white of the eyes. High roughness, very high roughness. Then add black mask. And then fill up those eyes. Then we're going to duplicate and just change that color for the pupil. Clear mask. There we go. Boom, bang. And I'm going to leave the potions off for now because they're a different thing entirely. And let's do the lips quick. So duplicate, clear mask. Let's do like a sort of pink. Then go into fill and fill it up. Boom. And of course, Grandma does have a mouth inside of here because she talks and stuff. So you need to do that as well, but not expecting that from y'all. This can be a bit more rough, a bit less pink. Or a bit less red, I should say. Okay. So Grandma's pretty much done right there and good to go. Last step is to, I mean, for sure save as, you know. I'm gonna do Gmod class demo 2, but I'm just gonna save it over this current one because I'm running out of hard drive space. And last step, export textures right here. And output template, you're going to need to change this to, let's see, Pbr metallic roughness, I think is the ticket. Let's see if there's a different one in here. No, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Maybe there's an Arnold one specifically. Ooh, AI standard. That's interesting. I've never tried this one before. This will be cool. File type PNG. Perfect. Based on each texture size, let's do 2048 because that's what we're doing in ours. These different tabs are like your different. Oh, you can see exactly what it's going to put out. Ah, okay. Okay, it's going to do normals. Oh, OpenGL. Oh, okay. OpenGL. That might be an issue. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe. DirectX, okay. Interesting. Does Arnold use OpenGL? I don't know. Sorry, guys, I'm just getting a little bit distracted. I'm going to stick with Pbr metallic roughness because I know that one works. And then let's change the destination folder. Let's do this to desktop. Let's do course materials 426. And then in your project hierarchy, you put that in your source images And there you go. And export. Boom. And that is, can be generated texture set. Okay, yeah, it's fine. It's only emissive. Emissive is like another, it's like a different channel for textures. It's glowy stuff. So if you have like magic glowy stuff, then you can do some cool things with that. But let's go back into Maya now. I'm also going to, because I don't know where grandma is stored. I believe it should just be in my game hierarchy, but I don't know if this is a class demo with like its own UVs, because if you apply a material to if you just like apply a texture to something with the wrong UVs, then it's going to it's definitely going to look weird. This would be an OBJ. Let's do an FBX. Course materials. 46 scenes. Gmod class demo. Boom. Perfect. All right. Grandma back into storage. You know, the game dev cycle moves on. Sometimes Granny just becomes outdated, you know. Bringing her back into Maya. Yeah, because Josh was, well, we're all going to be rendering out our things. So Josh requested to know this part of the pipeline as well. And I want to show it to you. Give the woman a break. All right. So Maya's going to take a while to open up.
I was rendering it out with the AI Arnold standard. So I'd like to see how you do it, you know, the professional.
Oh, the professional, yeah. I mean, it's probably the same way that you were doing it. So open scene. It might take me a little while because it's been a long time since I've rendered out straight from Maya. It's probably been like a year and a half now. So because I work primarily in Unity. So let's open up. Did it not export grandma? How could it? Did it forget about grandma? This is tragic. I might have put it into 427 instead. Let's see. No, I didn't. I don't know where grandma is. Grandma, come back. All right, I'm just gonna open up the in-game version. Let's see. Sauce art, characters, NPCs, grandma. Sure, let's do the rig. Grandma rig, open. Oh my god, we lost grandma. All right. So this is grandma in her Maya form. And here we go. She's all rigged up so you can move her around. Let's get this material on her. I'm going to assign a new material. Arnold AI standard surface. Boom. And then let's see. Here's where it gets a little bit tricksy. You got to open up your hyper shade. We tell them she's out late. She's out too late at bingo night. And let's just click on the surface and click on, where's the AI standard surface? There we go. And this hypershade, it's again, it's node based. It's not as cool as designers nodes though. I wish it was. But yeah, so we need our colors and so let's apply the file to that color section right there. And the image name is it this one? I feel like it is. Source images, yeah. Okay, so that worked. So base color, open. And you can already see some of our base color coming through. Let me turn off the rig so it's not as annoying. I'm just making it so it doesn't show joints, doesn't show NURBS curves. Boom. So there we go, there's that. Then we need to click on our shader again. And you can bring in all these nodes yourself by pressing tab and then place 2D texture in this. But I like just hooking it directly into the shader over here. So we're not looking for diffuse roughness. We do have a metalness map though. So let's click on metalness and then file and then image name, metallic, open. Very nice. Very nice. And I like to just hook up one of these channels to metalness instead. And alpha is luminance. Have that in there. Color space, raw. And that should be the proper settings for it. Then let's look at, let's click back on our shader. And then for specularity, we got to have our roughness mapped to something. So it's going into specular roughness and image name, roughness, open, color space, raw, alpha is luminance. And again, we only need one of these in here. And then click on this and geometry, bump mapping, file, use as tangent space normals, bump value, image name, normal. Boom. You can see that all that. Let's turn off wireframe unshaded. See that all that normal detail is in there now. It might be inverted though. We'll see. We'll see. Color space raw. And yeah, there we go. And so now let's render out. You can get a little preview of what it looks like on here, with all the stuff. And let's do some renders. Let's do some renders, y'all. So if my computer weren't already dying enough, we'll do lights, area light. I also have a tutorial specifically for this part. So just look at that if you're curious for this. It's probably much more streamlined. Open Arnold render view. Let's shrink this window so it's not conquering everything. And let's just start up that render. What you got for us? Okay, so exposure needs to be cranked up in the light as always. I like to bring it up to 10. There we go. Again, you guys don't need to render in Maya for this. Especially since I'm about to show y'all how to let's get a nice physical sky in here. What is azimuth? I think that's the left and right. Let's crank this around. There we go. But yeah, there's grandma right there. You can see like the metallic really reads well, and if it when it renders out with the proper settings, you'll see that the rest of the stuff is looking pretty good too. Let's see how that stitch turned out. I mean, we only have like a couple pixels of it, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Not too bad. Not too shabby at all. But yeah, so that's pretty much it there. For you guys, look how small that grid is under her. Yeah, it's because we're working on I think centimeters in here. For I think it was for reasons because of the auto rig, if I recall correctly. Like the auto rig only worked in. Yes, let's see how this looks. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit torn right there, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that's why we try to hide our seams as good as we can. But yeah, so let me show you guys how to quickly render out in Substance instead. So very similar to the other one, except there's not like our material is already hooked up, and we have a skybox lighting this up already. So we can just click this little camera up here in the top right, and oh, hell yeah, and it's doing GPU rendering. Keely's always hyped about GPU rendering. And you can see it's shooting stuff across here. It's not the best renderer because you can see there's like little white flakes in the final render. But I'm not going to be too bothered by that. There are some things you can do to try to help that. I believe it's in this render settings. I think it's caustic sampler enabled. So if you turn that on, it tries to go and do a pass to get rid of those. But there's still some that just don't go away. And then once you're done with that, you just save render. Squints. They were like 1 pixel big, so like it'd probably not carry over through zoom. But yeah, once you got that, you can just save render and boom, donezo. So yeah, that's pretty much all of Substance. I didn't want to go that in depth, but y'all just kept asking like questions. I'm completely fine with y'all doing just fill layers and materials and just calling it a day. No generators at all. No painting.
It's nice that you do it though, because then we can look at this recording and see how you went more in depth. So
yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's why I'm down to throw out the information. It might not all stick, but you know, in the future you can always go back. Okay.
It never sticks for me. I just have to keep rewatching. Sorry.
Yeah. That's the only way. Like that's legit the only way in like a class as dense as this, you know.
Yeah.
So Mike, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
For all the recordings that you do for your classes, do they remain on YouTube or do you take them down when the semester's over?
No, they're up there forever, you know.
Forever.
Yeah, because like if y'all are like in a few years, like let's go sample some ZBrush again, like the lectures. I want the lectures to be there.
Well, this was super, like, this is what I really want to do because like building actual models is really difficult for me to see it in a 3D space, but finding texture and color is like my jam.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's why, like, just so you know, like the modelers are the texturers, like that's all one job. So if you, unfortunately, if you don't like modeling that much, then you're not going to be able to escape it, you know, like you still
So I'm
gotta do
screwed.
it. No, I mean, like you just have to bite the bullet and be like, well, if I want to do my favorite part, I got to go through some garbage parts.
This is going to be so much fun to color.
Right.
I was gonna say Keely.
Right. Well, I also see that stuff as like a challenge too. So like things that I'm not good at, I want to just get better, you know. So like, so stuff like modeling. Whenever I was animating, I was like, I wish I was better at this. So then I would do some of that in my off time. I'm still not like an amazing modeler or anything, but I want to keep pushing on it, you know.
What's really cool though of like touching everything though is like you already hear that Mike's making his own indie game, but you're basically getting equipped to make your own indie game as well once you're touching all of the pipeline in a sense. So once you start thinking like bigger projects, like I want to see this game come to life, you pretty much have the means to make it. And then those parts that are not as fun for you just become kind of like, okay, I have to do it because this game needs to come to life and I'm the only person here who's making it, so we got to make it happen, you know. Like it's just one of those things where you just accept that it's part of the process. So
yeah,
Or
exactly.
you can find somebody else who wants to work with you who likes doing the parts you don't want.
Exactly.
There you go.
But, you know,
unfortunately, my partner likes the same parts of the pipeline that I like, so we're kind of just like,
well, rock paper scissors. Who
As I was like, do you guys like bet on like, or do you guys like decide who does what, or?
Yeah, like, yeah, we kind of just like, does this sound more appealing to you? But like, I don't know, we always regret our decisions because like,
This is where making friends in animation is very, very important. When you don't know what to do, you know how to do this?
oh yeah,
Oh, I love that.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to pause.